Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Chasing Labels. I am your host, Andrew Cabral. This is episode number of Chasing Labels, number 193, getting ever so close, I guess, to the next big milestone, which will be episode number 200, which will be coming sometime down the lane. But we are back here once again. For those of you who are just joining us here for the first time, welcome. For those of you who are not joining us here for the first time, but are a repeat customer, a fellow chaser, welcome back. For those of you who don't know what the general premise of the things we do here on Chasing Labels, we go over the last 2 weeks of announcements in the world of boutique label movie releases, home entertainment. It's not everything. It is many of the things. It's usually similar labels or similar types of labels every single month or so. It is usually things that I'm interested in adding to my collection. You may be interested in adding to your collection, or things I just find interesting in general. Over the last several episodes or so, we have had a series of special guests. We've had a series of special guests from Australia, but now we are back here stateside. We're back here in the local, well, not local, but at least in the same continent, in the same country. We have someone who has been here on Chasing Labels before, but not this show specifically. But I believe he was here on the Unwatched pile earlier on this year. But he will, of course, mention all of that. Of course, also mention what all of the things he does. And that is KB Loves Movies. KB, welcome to Chasing Labels. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Andrew. It's nice to be an official chaser now.
Yes. The name is slowly catching on. That's my goal.
Yes,
to have that catch on with people. But what is it? What is it? Please introduce yourself if people don't know who you are already, because maybe some people have not watched the Unwatched pile.
KB Loves Movies. I've been on my YouTube channel for about 4 years now, and it kind of mutated or evolved, depending on how you want to see it, from a here's what I got and here's what I saw kind of movie channel to really my true passion, and that is finding other movie lovers. I don't care if you go to the cinema, you stream, you DVD and VHS, or it has to be on 4K, slip or no slip, steelbooks, doesn't matter. You have a passion for movies, and so do I. So we want to discuss it, and I have this series called The Conversation, and it's just about discussing movies with other great movie lovers. So you are due up pretty soon, my friend. So we need to schedule
thank you
on
for the
there.
official invite here, right on the spot. No pressure at all.
We'll make it happen.
And yet, like I mentioned, you were on the Unwatched pile earlier on in the year, and I think I missed that episode because I caught some type of flu or some type of cold, and I was bedridden for like at least a day or two, and I just couldn't move or process things, so I missed that episode, and I was sick for about a week. And this must have been during the winter months. The winter months are always like down in doldry for me. It's always like sickness and cold weather and dark days. So I missed that, but I'm glad I got to have you on here so that I get to meet you and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we will of course be getting into, like I said, the release announcements for the last 2 weeks or so. Today, Criterion did drop their announcements. We will be including that in today's lineup. I don't even think it's in the official list below of all of the stuff we talk about here, but just pretend to add it on in your mind for those of you watching and listening. We will actually be starting out with that, but speaking of the Unwatched pile, we'll be having a new episode coming up this weekend of the Unwatched pile, so please stay tuned for that. We just did our most recent Unwatched pile recently as well. We did a couple of Criterion reviews where we reviewed 2 of the Criterion releases that come out ironically this month. One was Desperate Living by John Waters. The other one was Hairspray by John Waters. And I guess keeping in the Criterion theme of things, from what I've heard, the Criterion Barnes & Noble sale, which happens twice yearly, will be either on June 27th or July 5th. That's the 2 dates I keep hearing. So relatively soon. It's
I'm hearing also like a possibility of that Friday, which I believe is the 26th.
okay.
Yeah,
That would make more sense.
yeah.
Because it is typically either the last Friday of June or the first Friday in July. That seems to
Mm-hmm.
be what the pattern of the last few years. It changes a little bit every year. It used
Yeah.
to be strictly July and strictly November, but now they've kind of change things a little bit. But either way, it is coming up soon, and during that sale, all of the June titles will be included in it, as well as the July titles. Unfortunately, I think the stuff we're talking about today will not be included, but that I guess will be for the November portion of the sale, if indeed it does still happen. I still always have that little insecurity that they're just going to end up canceling these
Me
sales.
too. Me too. I was just about to say, I'm glad they're still having it, from getting inside scoops from Barnes and Noble employees.
Hmm.
They're preparing for it, so that means it's happening. But it's usually around June and October. I'm like, this is going to be the time. We're not going to have it anymore. They're going to take it from us. So
Yeah.
I'm always looking forward to the sale because besides that and the Criterion flash sales, that's when I purchase the most of my titles.
Same here. July portion is really used to be the time where I used to really load up on titles. I'm talking like
Hmm
20, sometimes 30 titles. One time, Steven and I had like a battle back and forth who could buy more titles in September. Speaking of which, he will be joining us here for the Criterion announcements very, very soon. Actually, I'll probably make that transition now. So um, let me add the Criterion titles here in the screen on screen stuff, and then I guess add Steven here as well. And here he is.
Oh, oh.
Don't adjust your dial. This is not something crazy. It's a little blast from the past.
What's up, guys?
Hey,
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 KB, and
how's it going?
pretty good. I'm really happy about these announcements today, specifically one title that I'll be talking about. Because if you know me, I'm a big fan of this filmmaker, and every time I talk about Criterion, I say, "Where the hell is more Satyajit Ray?" I mean, like I've been waiting, and finally, this is out, and I hope we don't have to wait too much longer after this to get even more. So we'll get to it.
Yeah, because um the last I think Satyajit Ray film came out in 2021, which was Devi, if I do recall.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take a look over.
5 years, guys.
Yeah, it's
That's
been about 5 years. And what is interesting is I think about a year ago, this specific title was announced that they had done a restoration and they were exhibiting it theatrically, like around the country, around the world, different festivals, different exhibitions. We do have some comments here.
I've been doing them behind
Yeah.
the scenes. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Paul Berryman, who was one of our guests from Australia, he's here. The Disconnected, Ryan over there, he's on here. Josie's here as well, with a whole list of movies and such. Um, yeah, she watched a bunch of things. Hello, Andrew and KB. New watches for her was Roger and Me. That's the Michael Moore documentary, I think.
yeah,
1989, Serial Mom, John
great
Waters,
one.
Great.
Beautiful Thing from '01. But I'm a Cheerleader, appropriately for Pride Month. That movie's actually getting a 4K upgrade now. It
I
took
love it.
years for that movie just to get a Blu-ray release. Now it's getting a 4K of it. The Smiling Lieutenant, Society, and Jaman Jaman, which sounds familiar actually. But anyway,
That's that song. Jamon, you tell me why. Oh no, that's not it.
that's a different
Oh
song.
no, come on. Never
Yeah,
mind.
and then of course,
That's Smash Mouth. Yeah.
yeah, JB44 is keeping the Chasings name alive.
I love it.
But
Love it.
yeah, let's go over to Criterion. Let's jump right into it. Steven, while you're here, is for this movie here, Days and Nights in the Forest. Like I said, this movie had recent restoration, recent theatrical exhibition by Janus Films, and then now here is the 4K of it. So, Steven, I think you're the only one of us who's actually seen the movie, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So not that long ago, I actually got a chance to see this at a local art house theater. It was like last minute. I noticed it. It was on its last day at this theater. I missed it the whole weekend, and for some reason, I guess the world was trying to draw me in, saying, "Steven, you love Satyajit Ray. Why have you noticed the screening here?" And so it came across my feed, and it had a showtime that I could make. I had to get somebody to watch my kid all last minute, and then I went and saw this movie. Only one in the theater, unfortunately. But it was fantastic. I mean, and it's almost a joke. It's not surprising. It's like every time I find another Satyajit Ray movie that I can see, they're all like near masterpieces, if not masterpieces. Like, I don't know what it was about this guy that he's so fucking good. But it's still it's bewildering to me that he's not talked about more, like as like on the like Mount Rushmore of all time great filmmakers. I guess it's just the accessibility to his films, but Criterion makes a good handful of them accessible. It needs to get more out there. So this is a really good one. This one is more of like it almost is like him trying to do a road comedy. And then a group of friends, they go off to like stay in this like small town, kind of a retreat kind of thing. And the movie kind of deconstructs the idea of like something like after I saw it, I was thinking first of The Hangover. I know that seems like a weird comp, but like The Hangover, if the focus is on the men and how much they're fucking up, like that's the movie. The movie really focuses on kind of male archetypes and like deconstructing, like, you know, there's like a particular one in the group that has just went through a bad breakup. And he's sitting here like trying to find ways to blame her. But by the end of the story, he starts to understand that maybe it was him. Like things like just really kind of deconstructing different type of male archetypes in the movie. And I think it's just another movie of his many great films that he just finds a way to take sometimes the simplest of stories and get like the most out of it. Yeah. I mean, I could go on, but yeah. Anything to say about it?
I would say, KB, are you familiar with Satyajit Ray's work and things like that?
Yeah, only through the Criterion Collection. And just to go back to what Stephen was saying, there's a lot of directors that have notoriety and accessibility because of Criterion. So I don't think someone like Fuller would be as known and popular today with film scholars and collectors and so forth, if not for the Criterion Collection. So, you know, you think of the trilogy, the Apu trilogy, and so on. I think that's where people may know Ray's work, but there's so much that's not on there that, you know, something like this is a big deal. So hopefully it's just the beginning of more things. Maybe they're working with the estate, the Ray estate, to get more things. So hopefully it is. I just like when we get older films, especially black and white films, with fresh restorations. So it's not some digital upscaling or something like that. So they got the original negative and they went back and they did a full 4K scale and restoration. So I love to see that.
Yeah. So similarly, I think, to, I guess, a lot of people discovering Ray's work through Criterion. That's where I did. When the Apu trilogy came out, I said this before, I'll say it again, there was so much buzz around it when it came out on Blu-ray initially that it just made me want to see it. And once I did see it, I was just completely blown away by his filmmaking ability, and just the stories and the characters within the stories, the richness of them. Even to this day, I think the most watched video on Chasing Labels is the Blu-ray review I did of Satyajit Ray's Apu trilogy on Blu-ray years ago. I did it years and years ago.
And it continues to get comments.
Yeah, it still gets comments, it still gets views. And I guess, you know, it just found an audience. And then, of course, since then, Criterion has put out quite a few more of his movies on Blu-ray. Things like The Big City, Charulata, The Hero. There is an Eclipse series set as well, and hopefully maybe those movies will get Blu-ray releases sometime soon. They're doing stuff with Eclipse now, which I find very interesting. The Music Room as well. What's interesting is The Music Room is actually like one of the closest movies he made to what we consider a Bollywood film. The thing is, the difference between Ray and a lot of his other, I guess, Indian filmmaking contemporaries, his movies didn't feel like Bollywood. They felt Western. They felt like, you know, Hollywood type of movies. Sure. A lot of reason, I think, because he was influenced by Jean Renoir. I think he worked on, or he was at least around the production when Jean Renoir did his movie, I think The River, in India.
Yeah.
I think it was the river. Let me check genre.
No,
I'm not really,
I think you're right. I'm
yeah.
pretty sure you're right.
This is gonna drive me crazy, but
And and he's
yeah, the river.
definitely and he's definitely a filmmaker that was even influenced by a lot of American films.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He was definitely and I would say I think the tell of a really great director, and I think this is his biggest gift, is that he knows how his cinematic language is like top tier. Like it's to be a great filmmaker, I think you have to know how to tell stories and through visuals. Like it's not just about exposition, like too much exposition. We always talk about it like that. Exposition dumps is a negative thing. We don't like it, but it's the visual storytelling and the way he's able to invoke emotion and invoke themes and things through just how he shoots his films and how he gets performances out of his actors is his gift. That's why he's so good. And it's like he was naturally gifted because he didn't, I don't think he had any formal training or anything. He just loved the things he saw and wanted to try to do it. So like, yeah, I mean, he's just, I'm just blown away every time I see something. And when I got done with this film, it's like, he did it again. Like, and there's so many that are in the 60s and 70s that we still have not gotten proper restorations yet. So
Yeah.
like, I'm excited. Like, I'm excited for more. I do think that they are working with the estate. I believe Criterion does have like connections with the estate and have probably just a lot of work to do probably on these. I think, you know, like you said, the Apu trilogy was almost lost. Like,
yeah, that is another
so,
thing, is that the elements for a lot of these movies are probably in pretty rough shape. I remember
Yeah.
watching Devi way before this Blu-ray came out. I don't even know if it was maybe it was on DVD, but it was in rough shape.
Yeah.
And to the point where like it's almost unwatchably like bad in terms of quality. So they must do like miracle working in order to restore a lot of these movies, because you know back then they didn't properly store Hollywood movies, let alone Indian films, from overseas. But let's just read. Stephen, I don't know how much longer you want to stay on
no,
here.
go ahead. Whatever you wanted to, are you done with this film?
No, I'm just going to read off the
Okay,
little
go ahead.
blurb here and then go
Yeah,
over
go
the
ahead.
special features. That was about it.
Yeah.
So,
I'll
one of
finish it up
director
with you.
Satyajit Ray's greatest achievements begins with the deceptively easy grace of a buddy comedy, only to give way to darker moral shading. Seeking a weekend escape from the city, four friends from Kolkata embark on a driving trip to the countryside, where their urban entitlement and prejudice are gradually exposed. Among these young bachelors is the overconfident Ashim, who is Sumitra Chatterjee, who I think is a
He's
Ray
he's a
regular.
staple of. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a poo when he gets older. You know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Who finds his self-assurance shaken by Aparna, the radiant Sharmila Tagore, and an enigmatic young woman whose cool intellect conceals turbulent emotional depths, filmed luminously amid the sound-dappled splendor of the woodlands of India's Palamu region. Days and Nights in the Forest deconstructs the masculine ego and India's fraught class divisions with elegant complexity. If you know Ray's films, he really touches on classism a lot, touches on gender issues a lot, specifically within Indian society.
Yeah.
We've seen that a lot with like Charulata and The Big City and things like that.
He very much is, and that's also like he takes big swings because like in the Bengali society, women were a lot of times traditionally
Very
kept down,
patriarchal.
and he makes these movies about women taking control and like becoming like specifically Big City, where she has to like step in and become the breadwinner of the family to save the family from going into deeper holes.
Deeper impoverished holes.
Yeah.
And that
it
is
almost
something...
becomes like a social commentary on what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I was just saying, that is something that I think is not only specific to Indian society, but I think it's specific to just the world in general in the 20th century, the changing of gender roles when it comes to men and women in relationships, marriages, and things like that. Obviously here in the United States, there was a huge, feminist women liberation movement going on in the 60s and 70s. And even to this day, there's a lot of fights for rights and things like that and whatnot. But in terms of special features here, let's see what we have. Let me go back over to Days and Nights. New 4K digital restoration undertaken by the Film Foundation, World Cinema Project, Lemagin Ritrovata in collaboration with the Film Heritage Foundation, Janus Films, and the Criterion Collection with uncompressed monaural soundtrack. One 4K disc, one Blu-ray disc with the special features. Intro by filmmaker Wes Anderson. I'm glad they mentioned that because this
Yes.
sounds a lot like the Darjeeling Limited.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
sounded
Mhm.
so much like the Darjeeling Limited. Road trip, someone's dealing with the breakup, the Jason Schwartzman character, if you've seen. Oh, it was, I forget the name of the short film that's like a prequel to Darjeeling Limited,
I know what you're
with
talking about, yeah.
Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
It's, oh, man, it's like Hotel Chevalier. I think it's called Hotel Chevalier.
That sounds about right, yeah.
It's on the disc. Whether you have the big old briefcase set they've got now or just the regular Darjeeling Limited, it's in there as a special feature. But making of program featuring new and archival interviews with director Satyajit Ray, actors Shamila Tagore, Robi Ghosh, and cinematographer Sumendu Roy. And then conversation about Ray and the filmmaker's restoration featuring Anderson, Tagore, Film Heritage Foundation founder Savandra Singh, Dung Kapoor, and then a trailer, English subtitles, of course. Available in 4K, available on Blu-ray, even available on DVD if you so choose to. Coming out September 29th. So that is it for Days and Nights and Weekends. Stephen, I don't know if you're leaving us now.
Yeah, I will go ahead and leave you. So, because that's my end of my expertise on this particular slate. Because I haven't seen any. I mean, I have Showa on Blu-ray over there, and I know this is just kind of being re-brought back in.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm going to
yeah.
mention that this is kind of just a reissue of the same edition that's already available.
Yeah, they must have had a lapse in license and had to take a break on it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that is it. The last word on Days and Nights in the Forest is, like I said, all-time great filmmaker. Please, if this is your first time, the first thing you're thinking of buying of his, go ahead. It's a great start. Hey, Satyajit Ray also does the music for a lot of his movies. I believe he does the music for this film as well. So he's just like he does everything, dude. He's that type of auteur filmmaker that really takes hold of his whole project and it's all him. So yeah. But thanks guys for having me tonight. Have fun. KB, I'll see you around. Andrew,
Good to see you.
I'll see you soon. So
yes, indeed. Okay.
Good night.
Later, man.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So I guess we will continue on with the next title here, which I think is a collection from a specific director. 3 films by Leos Carax. Now, if I remember correctly, Leos Carax directed the movie Holy Motors, which I think that may be the only movie of his I've seen.
Yeah.
And yeah, so let me read through this. So, burning with stylistic freedom, the first 3 features by Leos Carax are cinema at its most ecstatically sensorial and deliriously romantic. That's very descriptive. Built around virtuosic, intensely physical performances from Denny Levant as 3 different characters named Alex. These tales of outsiders, criminals, and doomed lovers living on the edge blaze with the whirlwind abandon of youth and the thrilling highs and torturous lows of all-consuming passion. Love letters to the city of Paris, with its streets transformed by cinematographer Jean-Yves Escoffier into expressive dreamscapes. These 3 films erupt in the moment of anarchic euphoria that fuse sound, image to heart-stopping effect. And the movies are Boy Meets Girl, Mauvais Song, and The Lovers on the Bridge. Now, I haven't gotten to see any of these because this was just announced today. But KB, do you have any familiarity with this director and his work? Like I said, I think I've only seen Holy Motors.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. I think Holy Motors is the only one that I have seen. And apparently it was before I got my Letterboxd account because it's not faded. But
no, that happens to me too.
Yeah, I'm looking through the filmography. I'm not familiar with any other ones, but in a situation like this, I always wait to see what other people are saying and look for like recommendations for future, or like I tell people on my channel, if you're unsure and you have access to the channel, the Criterion channel, watch it there first. You know that something's coming out this coming month or next month. If it's currently available on there, watch it on there. If it's something that you realize, hey, I'm going to be able to I probably want to watch this again. Go ahead and add it to your wish list for upcoming purchase.
Yeah. Um, Let me see. I think, yeah, if you can find these to watch, who knows if you can. But like I said, I like to familiarize, at least if I know the director's other work or I've seen a film from his.
Hmm.
Chances are maybe I'll take a flyer on it down the line, specifically if it's during the sale. You know what I mean? If it's something that's on sale, I'll take a flyer on it, listen to what other people are saying about it. I really liked Holy Motors a lot. Like that movie's my type of vibe.
Hmm.
Art house, avant garde, surreal. Um, doesn't really make a lot of sense. That there's not really a plot into the movie. It's
Yeah.
it's just a mind melding effect of a movie. If that's kind of Leo's character's vibe when he does in his movies, chances
Hmm.
are I'm going to like it. So I'm probably going to check these movies out relatively soon. But in the meantime, here let's at least take a look at what the special features are. Scrolling all the way down here, so there's a new 4K digital restoration with uncompressed binaural. Um, Soundtracks for Boy Meets Girl and Mauvais Song, and a 5.1 DTS surround master audio for Lovers on the Bridge. And then uh, there's three UHD discs and three Blu-rays with the films and special features. It's Not About Me, a self-portrait film by director Leo Carax. New interviews with actor Denny Levant and editor Nelly Quetier, I guess. New video essay on the cinematography of Jean-Yves Escoffier. Meet the filmmaker Leo Carax, a Criterion Channel original interview. Those are really great. For
I
those of you who
like
have the
those.
Criterion Channel, those are excellent.
Yeah.
Um, and then we have Mr. X, a vision of Leo's Carax, a documentary on Carax's work. Le Pont Neuf des Amants, which is a 1991 documentary on the making of the main set for The Lovers on the Bridge, deleted scenes, rushes, screen tests, behind the scenes footage, and trailers. Um, yeah, that sounds interesting, at least to me. Uh, so three films by Leos Carax, and then next we have a movie that just came out last year. Now this was like the
Yeah.
big international, critically beloved movie of last year, The Secret Agent from Brazil. Um, Now, have you seen this movie, KB?
So here's the story.
I want to hear it.
I always try to watch all of the Oscar nominees
Same
leading
here.
up to the Academy Awards. And for the last 2 years, I've had trouble getting to the international films. So I just watched the winner from last year, which is I'm Still There. And
Mhm.
then I was supposed to go and see this. My wife even wanted to go and see this. I think she likes the way Wagner looks, but um, neither here nor there. But I never got a chance to go out and see it. So I'm actually looking forward to this coming out. This is probably the only way it will be released, at least here in the States. This will be, and I don't do this often as much as I used to, this will be a blind buy for me. And
Nice.
I'm looking forward to it. I think if a movie is good enough to be nominated and put into a high esteem, as they're looking at it for a possible Best Picture winner, then it's probably worth checking out. And the main reason is, one, to watch a film, and then two, for any features that might be on the disc as well.
Yeah. So similarly, I do also try to watch as many of the nominations as possible.
Mhm.
International, the Best Picture nominees, even actor, actress, etc.,
Shorts.
right? And
I
I think,
get deep. I get into the shorts and everything, the
yeah, I got to the
documentary
shorts. I get
shorts.
to the shorts too. The
Yeah.
shorts are tough to find, really
I,
tough sometimes. You got to go
I know.
digging.
Yeah.
Uh, Even international. I've always said this. Um, every single year it feels like the Academy. This I'm going off a little bit of a rant here. They're trying to find new and interesting ways to get people to watch the telecast. They want to get the
Yeah.
ratings, to get the ad money, all this kind of stuff, right? And I'm like, tell the companies, that put these movies out to make them accessible, easier to people to watch. You know what I mean? Have them being in the theaters longer, have them have more promotion, have them get to streaming faster, all this kind of stuff, have them get to physical media faster,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. Because people want to watch these movies. Like you said, sometimes they have a very limited time to do so. Like it'll be in your local indie theater for like 2 weeks or whatever, or a week. And if you miss it, you miss it. You gotta
Yeah.
wait. You gotta wait for it to either come to streaming or to rent or to buy it here. But this movie here, I remember when this premiered, I think at the Cannes Film Festival last year, And I think
Hmm.
Wagner Moura won the Best Actor at Cannes, and I was like, okay, this is interesting because he was
Serious.
in a previous movie. Why am I blanking on it? I don't know, but he was critically acclaimed for that film too. People probably know him most specifically for being Pablo Escobar in Narcos on Netflix. That
Hmm.
was where people really noticed him. But since then, he's become kind of a bit of an international star, making Brazilian films, and a lot of Brazilian films do not get worldwide acclaim or notice. But this film did. Like you said, this film and Sentimental Value were the two big
Yeah,
international hits. I feel like last year, and there was the Jafar Panahi film from Iran as well, which won
which is
the
also
Palme
coming out
d'Or,
soon.
which is coming out soon. Yes,
Yeah.
and it's so Criterion is really making a notice of putting out a lot of contemporary international hits, which is great because we finally get them instead of having to wait years for them to show up. But this movie here stars Ragnar Mora, and it says with an electrifying blend of kinetic punch and elegiac historical sweep, Kleber Mendonça Filho connects life under Brazil's 20th century military dictatorship to the living present, delivering a kaleidoscope period thriller pulsing with resonance. In 1977, under the alias Armando, a man, Ragnar Mora, arrives in the city of Recife to try to make a fresh start with his young son. However, the threat of violence immediately encroaches, while around him swirl corrupt cops, grimy hitmen, haunted exiles, and a wild urban legend that ignites a public frenzy. Continually spinning off its temporal and narrative axes, the secret agent unfurls an epic canvas teeming with life and love for those who refuse to submit to systems of oppression. Now, I didn't really know this, but for quite a while, Brazil, the country of Brazil, was under a
Hmm.
communist regime that was very oppressive.
Yeah.
Not only was it oppressive, but it was incredibly cruel. And basically, any political, um, uh, opposition was dealt with very cruelly in terms of making people disappear and disappear in the most literal way.
Yeah.
To which they're kind of uncovering a lot of these buried truths from decades in the past. I didn't know a lot about that, and that ran from I think the 70s and 80s. It was a
Hmm.
prominent time for a communist dictatorship in Brazil. I made mention of this recently. One of my many doctors is Brazilian, from Brazil, and sometimes we talk about movies from Brazil just randomly. We talked about this film here, as well as the film previously from Brazil that was a big hit, and it just she talked about how her family grew up during that time or lived during that time in Brazil and how heavy it was, and it's just absolutely fascinating how a lot of these political you know information was kind of just kept under wraps for so many decades, and we're
Yeah.
learning a lot of this now through movies, documentaries, and just life in general. But yeah, this movie is all about kind of uh, living within that stifling regime during that time. The Wagner Moura character, it's it, it's hinted at, revealed that he was involved in political opposition, protesting and stuff like that, and he's been on the run, and now he's coming out from hiding because he wants to have a connection with his son. But of course, coming out from hiding bring back a lot of can bring back a lot of old enemies and old grudges, and
Yeah.
the past can come back to get you. And this movie's dealing with the past and present and the relationship between the two. Really great film.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent film. Great performance by Wagner Moura. But
I would say
yeah,
between this and the Oscar winner from the year before, I'm still here. It'd be a
yeah,
great way for people to understand what was going on back in Brazil during those times because
yeah.
both
I am still
movies
here.
touch upon it.
I'm still here is a heavy movie. Really, really is. Um, and that movie didn't. I don't know if it got a release here or if it got a
I had to
release.
watch it on streaming. I don't know
I
if it got a release.
Yeah, I know it got a Blu-ray release overseas in the UK. Let's see. Yeah, I'm still here. Oh, it got a Sony Pictures Classics release. So it got a Blu-ray release from
That makes
Sony back in
sense.
December.
Yeah.
I have to track that down. But yeah, so that's something that's definitely have to track that down to add to the collection because that movie's definitely worth owning. Like it's so good that it's worth owning. And
Yeah.
as well as this movie is here. But let's get into the special features. New 4K digital master approved by the director Kleber Madanza Filho. This is a brand new movie, so I'm assuming it's going to look amazing. There's one 4K disc that does have Dolby Vision and two Blu-rays with the film and special features. Pictures of Ghosts from 2023, a companion film by Madanka Filho. Making of documentary featuring interviews with Madanka Filho, actor Wagner Mora, and other members of the cast and crew. Do interview with director of photography Evgenia, oh boy, uh, Alexandrova, and sound mixer Cyril Holtz. New video essay featuring Mendonca Filho, deleted scenes, archival material that inspired the film, with commentary by Mendonca Filho, trailer, and then English subtitles, of course. Available on 4K, Blu-ray, and DVD. DVD is still the biggest seller in terms of physical media.
Yeah.
2026, they're still going strong.
I know why too. I mean, you walk into any modern library that has like a media section, they can't afford to buy Blu-rays and 4Ks all the time. So if a movie's on DVD, it's in that library.
Yeah. DVDs are, with the arrival of Blu-ray and then now 4K, DVDs have become, cheaper in terms of the market, and just people are just more used to them, I guess. And
yeah,
it's a lot of mindset where, like, you, me, Steven, other people watching and listening, we're movie connoisseurs, we're movie collectors. We want the movies to look the best, sound the best exposition. Normally, people don't really care about those things. They just want to watch the movie. So
yeah.
DVD is fine.
I live with someone like that. So yes.
Yeah, and I was actually just talking the other day with Ryan from the Disconnected in terms of like where people buy their movies these days, and I was just talking about how it's Walmart or Barnes and Noble that tend to be the sentiment for a lot of people, and typically those places sell a lot of DVDs. Typically, just DVDs, especially Walmart. I was talking with Steven, who was just here the other day. Like, even more recent new releases, like Sam Raimi's Send Help, was only available on DVD from all of my local Walmarts. Like, they never put out the 4Ks at all. They just put them out, just put out the DVDs. And it was just like, that's not a help to me. Like, I would buy it if you had it. That's the sentiment I'm going with. But if you don't have it, they're just going to sit there. But moving on from The Secret Agent, we have another newer movie in Nouvelle Vague. This is from an old friend of many of a cinephile out there, Richard Linklater. This is one of two movies he put out last year. His other movie actually got released. Was it Blue Moon? Got released from another company. And I thought Blue Moon was better than Nouvelle Vague, but that's just me. I kind of connected with that movie a lot more. Yeah, Blue Moon, I think got a Sony Pictures Classics release as well. This is all coming back to me now as things I have to add to my collection. But Nouvelle Vague, this is a movie about the making of the seminal French New Wave classic, Breathless. And it's done so with, of course, modern actors and modern filmmaking techniques, but it's shot completely in black and white, shot as a period piece, premiered at Cannes last year. I remember a lot of people buzzing about it. You have to be a big fan of Breathless and the Nouvelle Vague and French New Wave and French cinema to really appreciate this movie. This is as inside baseball as you can get as a cinephile. So, KB Movies, was this one that you got to see last year?
I did not. I actually did not hear about it until they were on Elvis Mitchell's YouTube channel, and they were talking about it. Zoe Douche was on there, and she was talking about being a part of it. And it's funny, I have a son, and his favorite movie of all things is Breathless, and actually showed it to his girlfriend when they started dating and everything. And I was like, as soon as I found out about this movie, I said, this movie needs to come out on physical soon so I can show it to him, and maybe he could show it to her if she's that interested in it. But another blind buy, I'm gonna get in, then I'm gonna lend it to him, or at least lend him the Blu-ray part.
I think he most definitely would appreciate it, because there's scenes in this movie, especially if you're familiar with French cinema at the time. I think I mentioned this before, where they, they walk into the Cahiers du Cinéma, the French film magazine at the time,
Hmm.
and everybody working there is all like big time French names that you'll remember. It's like it's like everybody. Like Claude Chabrol, it's Agnes Varda walks in, Jacques Demy walks in. Um,
That's so
eh,
cool.
yeah, like it's supposed to meeting like Jean Pierre Melville to have to get him to come and to be in the movie. I mean, it's like everybody. It's like the Avengers of French New Wave filmmakers are all there, and it's like wow. And they put like name, like there'll be like titles that come like, oh, this is this person, this is that person, and it's really cool to see that they were all together at that time in France, and they were all lovers of movies, and they all kind of you know put their criticism to practice. You know what I mean? I know a lot of film critics get criticized themselves for, if you think this is so easy, then you do it yourself. And a lot of them did end up, getting up off the desk and making movies themselves and making
Yeah.
all-time great films, like Truffaut and stuff like that. It's really an interesting look at the making of process, specifically also of Breathless and the French New Wave, the guerrilla style indie form of filmmaking that was done at that time, really breaking all of the rules of filmmaking. So it's
Mhm.
1959, and a young Jean Luc Godard, who is portrayed by Guillaume Marbec, is the only one among his film critic peers at Cahiers du Cinéma not to have made a feature film. Determined to put his revolutionary cinematic ideas into practice, he begins his small. He begins, yeah, he brings his small crew and two stars, an eager unknown named Jean-Paul Belmondo, and a wary Hollywood expat Gene Seberg, portrayed by Zoe Deutsch, onto the streets of Paris to shoot Breathless, an adventure in unfettered creativity that would soon upend the way movies are made. With this enthralling love letter from one cinematic maverick to another, director Richard Linklater captures with buoyant humor and effortless charm the intoxicating joy of being young, breaking all the rules, and making art without boundaries. Uh, yeah, it is all of those things. There's a new 4K digital master of the movie. I mean, the movie is brand new, so it should look good. There's a one 4K disc and one Blu-ray disc. Interesting, no Dolby Vision involved in it. I'm guessing that's a filmmaker
Yeah.
specificity. New audio commentary with Richard Linklater. The Making of Nouvelle Vague, directed by Lucy Sada. There's an interview with Linklater and actors Zoe Deutsch, Aubrey Dolan, and Guillaume Marbec. Within the Wave, an audio-visual dossier on the real-life figures depicted in the film, by Frederick Farnsmith Neme. Linklater's pre-rehearsal manifesto, read by Deutsch, a list of trailers from the French New Wave films, and then the trailer, and then English subtitles, and then there's an essay booklet in there as well. So that is Nouvelle Vague. Richard Linklater, for those of you who don't know who Richard Linklater is, many of his movies can be found on the Criterion Collection, specifically the Before trilogy, which is like near and dear to
Perfect.
my heart.
Perfect.
I watch Before Sunset like every single year. I watch it. I used to watch it every single year on my birthday, which ironically is coming up on Wednesday, and I may renew that tradition once again just because
Do
I
it.
feel like rewatching it. Uh, it is before sunrise, before sunset, and before midnight. That's that box set. Of course, Boyhood was a big breakout hit for him. Dazed and Confused, I used to watch that every year as well. I had it on. I've had the Criterion DVD. I've had the Criterion Blu-ray. It is available in 4K now, which I may get eventually. Then Slacker. If you want to see a movie that breaks every rule in terms of filmmaking, is the indie film Slacker.
Yeah.
So great, so great. Richard Linklater is one of my all time favorites. Many of his movies I have in my collection. Trying to think of other ones that are non-Criterion. Uh, Completely, ironically, I have one here. One of his recent movies, "Where'd You Go, Bernadette?" Not a big hit with most people, starring Kate Blanchett. I actually have the. It was one of the last Blu-rays I think that Fox put out before the merger with Disney. So I have that in my collection. But one of my favorites, Richard Linklater. All right. So moving on from there, let's move on from Nouvelle Vague over to. Oh, we won't spend a lot of time on this because I've never seen this. The reason being is I know how heavy this is going to be. Absolute
Hmm.
soul crushing 9 hour documentary on the Holocaust called Shoah. This is a legendary film. Um, absolutely soul crushing in every way possible. And like Steven mentioned before he popped out here, this is a reissue of the same Blu-ray that has been out for many, many years. I'm assuming there was a lapse in rights issues, and now they've reacquired it and put it out. Um, KB loves movies. Are you aware of Showa and its prominence in cinema history? Really?
It's a one timer for me. I can't see myself adding this to the collection because it was rough to get through, and I don't see myself going through it again. There's a couple movies like that, but yeah, it's definitely worth seeing. But oof,
Yeah,
yeah,
there are several movies for me that are like that too, where I've seen once, maybe twice.
hmm
And there are several movies that I even have in my collection where I kind of just have them to have them. I don't know
yeah,
if I'm ever going to rewatch them.
yeah,
I bring this one up all the time. Ironically, it is a Criterion movie, which I don't have in my collection, and I see it at every sale, and I'm always wondering, do I ever want to buy it? It's the Inarritu film Amoris Perros, which features dog fighting in it, and I'm incredibly
hmm
sensitive to you know uh, you know a brutality when it comes to animals and specifically dogs and things like that. And there are really violent, bloody scenes in that movie
yeah.
depicting of dogs. I mean, it's all fake and it's all staged and all that kind of stuff, but still, it is harrowing to see.
It
And I
hits
watched
you
the movie
real.
once,
Yeah,
and I just there's even scenes of it that are still burned in my brain to like I don't want to watch this again. Um, it's so that's one of them for me. But this certainly is a harrowing film. This is right up there with a lot of movies that people say is tough. What Come and See is another one that people talk about, put out by
yeah.
Criterion as well. But Showa is a notoriously lengthy, like 9 hour documentary about the Holocaust. So over a decade in the making, Claude Lanzmann's 9 hour plus opus is a monumental investigation of the unthinkable. The murder of more than 6 million Jews by the Nazis using no archival footage. Lanzmann instead focuses on first person testimonies, which sometimes can be just as harrowing as actual footage. There was the really short documentary called Night and Fog that Criterion has put out as well that actually shows footage of the concentration camps afterwards. Like it's done in
hmm
the years afterwards, and that is still haunting beyond all reckoning. But these are testimonies of survivors and former Nazis, as well as other witnesses, employing a circular free associative method in assembling them. The intellectual yet emotional, overwhelming Showa is not a film about excavating the past, but an intensive portrait of the ways in which the past is always present. And it is inarguably one of the most important cinematic works of all time.
Yeah,
Very much so. I think one thing, specifically if you're someone who's astute when it comes to the history of people in the history of the world, grand acts of cruelty has always been part of, unfortunately, human society. And it's important to document these things and important to know about these things and to continually educate generations and generations about these things in order to hopefully fix things. And that's easier said than done.
true.
But this release of Showa, like I said, it's the same release that's been around for a while. I know many people probably already have it in their collection, but it's a 2K restoration of the movie, 3 additional films by director Claude Lanzmann, A Visitor from the Living from 1999, Sobibor from October 14th, 1943, 4 p.m. from 2001, and the Karski Report from 2010, conversation between Lanzmann and critic Serge Tubiana, interview with Lanzmann from 2003, and then there's an interview with Caroline Champetier, assistant camera person on Showa, and filmmaker Arnaud Desplechin. All I Had Was Nothing, a 2000 from 2025, a new film. Oh wait, so maybe this is something new. A new film
Yeah,
by Guillaume Ribot, edited from previously unreleased footage and recounting the production of Showa. So maybe there is a new feature here.
yeah.
Okay.
But they kept the same spy number. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very
This
interesting.
is spy number 663.
Hmm.
There's been so many spy numbers now. I've lost way track of where we are in terms of
I
things.
think the next movie will give you an idea.
This will definitely. I was just gonna say this will definitely tell us where we're at. For those of you collecting at home, oh no, this is a Criterion Premieres release. No
Oh,
spy
it is.
number.
No.
Okay, So this is a new film, I think from 2025 as well. It's called Two Prosecutors. I don't know anything about it. Someone with a blood-ridden note smuggled out of a prison block on an idealistic Soviet prosecutor pushes past the jail's leery authorities to interview an elderly, broken-down Bolshevik. Uh, let's see. Condemned as a political undesirable, the young attorney, determined to expose this miscarriage of justice to the authorities in Moscow, soon finds his efforts stymied as an ever-tightening net of suspicion encircles his investigation. Set at the height of the Great Purge and drenched in the paranoia of Stalin's police state, the latest triumph from director Sergei Laznitsa is a chilling Kafkaesque thriller about the impunity of power and the matter-of-fact horrors of totalitarianism. Once again, totalitarianism, oppression, and fascism show their ugly head in film. This happens to be under, of course, the communist reign of Soviet Russia. So this is a Criterion Premieres release. So all we really get with these are one special feature: meet the filmmakers. Sergei Laznitsa, a Criterion Channel original interview, and available only on Blu-ray and DVD. Have you been getting these Criterion Premieres?
I got a few. Like, I think the first one I bought was EO. And the great thing about those is they're easy to get to because it's usually a lower price point compared to like the regular Blu-rays. So especially if you get it on a sale, you can easily
usually during the sale, these can be found for like $15, and it's great. You get a movie that would probably never be put on physical media in any other way. And two, it's, obviously it's in HD, and you do get one special feature, and it's usually a more modern film that probably didn't play at your local cinema. I was trying to see if I had any around me, because I've got stuff piled up here on my desk, and on my couch here, and I don't have any Criterion Premieres released, but I got a bunch of other Criterion as well. But I do have EO. I managed to get EO. That movie makes me sad.
I didn't realize it would be like that. Oh, it's cute, whatever. Cloud, that's another one. The Shrouds is another one. I need to rewatch that.
Cronenberg's newest film.
The Beast. And then Lynch Oz.
Oh yeah, the documentary that kind of connects the fact that there's like certain hints in all of David Lynch's films and connections to The Wizard of Oz. Some more obvious than others. Specifically in his movie, the movie he did in the early 90s, which I'm completely blanking on, with Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern. Literally,
Wild at Heart.
Yes, literally, like the Good Witch Glinda the Good Witch comes down out of the sky at the end and talks to them. It's very, very Wizard of Oz-esque. But let's check out the next one we've got here after Two Prosecutors, and these will be the ones that I believe are the 4K this is the 4K re-release of, quite honestly, one of the greatest movies I've ever seen, and I think one of the greatest movies ever made. I'm biased because I love Sidney Lumet, and that is 12 Angry Men. This is, I think, a Criterion staple, Criterion 101. If you're looking to start your collection, this is a good one to start with, because it will give you everything you need: great acting, great screenplay, great filmmaking, great story, timeless themes. Excellent. One of the first Criterions I ever bought was 12 Angry Men. I was actually talking with KV before we started here. This was already released in 4K from Kino. Many of you probably got it in your collection. The difference between the Kino release and obviously the old Criterion release was probably the special features. Criterion tends to, their special features tend to be exclusive to their release. Kino is a similar fashion. But if you have that release and you're not interested in the Criterion special features, then hold on to it, because it is out of print. It's out of print as of the end of 2025. But since I have the old Blu-ray, I'll probably be upgrading to this. If you've never seen this movie before, I almost don't even want to talk about it because it's such a nice discovery for people. It's set entirely in one area. It's a jury room. There's 12 men, 12 characters, and they're deciding the fate of this young man who's been accused of killing his father. And the movie gets into class prejudice, racial prejudice, all kinds of stuff like that, and it just becomes it becomes an argument and a conversation about all of these things that are appropriate to 1959 and also
Mm.
appropriate to today in terms of biases and cultural biases and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Excellent movie. KB, I believe you've seen it.
Yes, I have. I have the Blu-ray, the Criterion Blu-ray of this, and then also the Kino 4K. It's one of my favorite movies. It's definitely same thing. One of my early Criterions. I think this was my first Blu-ray when I started getting the Criterion Blu-rays that I upgraded to. And as far as Lumet, I'm the same way. I read Making Movies, and I just started to go back and forth and realizing, oh, he made The Wiz, something I seen when I was a kid, but he also made Serpico and Dog Day Afternoon. So he's just an amazing filmmaker, and he has a filmography to back it up. And out of all of them, this is still my favorite.
Yeah. There was a run that Sidney Lumet went throughout the 70s that's pretty legendary, where Dog Day Afternoon, Serpico, The Wiz, like you mentioned, a network as well, which just got a Criterion release too.
I just
And
watched that one. Yeah.
it's so excellent. And then even into the 80s, he did some really good stuff as well. He had a nice run from the 70s into the
Mm.
80s. Even his last movie, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, with Philip Seymour Hoffman and um,
Marissa
why am I
Tomei.
Marissa Tomei, but who was the other actor in it? Um, Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke. Philip Seymour Hoffman and Ethan Hawke play brothers in the movie. Excellent, powerful film, and it was just at that time where digital filmmaking was starting to become a thing as well. And
Mhm.
Sidney Lumet was an early adopter of digital filmmaking. There was a special feature on it where he was like, basically saying that digital filmmaking was the wave of the future, and he
Yeah,
was right.
he's right.
He was right. But this release here, it has a new 4K digital restoration. I'm assuming it's the same restoration that they did for the Kino release, because the Kino release was done like 3 or so years ago. Relatively new release. One 4K disc of the movie presented with Dolby Vision is a Blu-ray with the movie as well as special features. Television version of the film from 1954, which it also was directed by Franklin J. Schaffner for the series Studio One, with an introduction by Ron Simon, curator at the Paley Center for Media. Production history of Touring Your Men from teleplay to big screen classic. And then we have archival interviews with director Sidney Lumet, interview with screenwriter Walter Bernstein about Lumet, interview with Simon about writer Reginald Rose, Tragedy in a Temporary Town from 1956, a teleplay directed by Lumet and written by Rose. Lumet actually got his start in his career doing television. So, and then there's an interview with cinematographer John Bailey about the director of photography Boris Kaufman. So I think these are all the same special features that were on the old Blu-ray, 4K disc, Blu-ray disc, coming out in September 6th or 8th? 8th. Sorry.
Hey,
Okay, so that is pretty much it for Criterion. Just running these down one more time, and then we'll move on. We've got Days and Nights in the Forest from Satyajit Ray, 3 films by Leos Carax, The Secret Agent, Nouvelle Vague by Richard Linklater, the great well-known documentary Shoah, 2 Prosecutors, which is a Criterion Premieres release, and then we have 12 Angry Men. And those are our September releases from Criterion. Now let's move on to. Actually, I'll let our guest take us where we want to go. Any particular place you want to go in terms of announcements?
let's go to the Warner Archives because
Okay,
those are
yeah.
always interesting to me.
Yeah, Warner Archive, one of my favorites. Always behind on my Warner Archive releases in terms of adding to my collection.
Yeah,
Recently, I got a stack of 10 of these. Some of them which I still have next to me here that I have to still put on my shelf. From I think
movie
Movie
thing.
Zing was
Yeah,
having a sale. Yeah,
I
uh,
still have some on my desk here. I've
nice.
been on a mission to collect all the Best Picture winners. I have a buddy who has officially has them all now. He was
Nice.
missing Coda, but now that it got an American release,
Yeah,
so
Coda took years to get a release.
yeah,
Finally, and they didn't promote it at all, or you kind of had to just know that it was coming out if you're a collector. It got a
yeah.
Blu-ray release and a 4K release. That was an Apple Plus, movie.
Hmm.
Those are really tough to get physical media release unless they're produced by another company. We are so fortunate that we got Killers of the Flower Moon recently.
Yeah.
I thought we would have to wait years for this to come out. The Martin
Hmm.
Scorsese movie.
I got
Uh,
mine here too.
nice, nice. Yeah,
But
we did a review on this as well here on the channel when it came out. This is definitely one I feel is going to be a hot seller at the at this upcoming sale.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I got a stack here. I think I shared it once upon a time. Yeah, I shared it a few episodes ago. Still got all my here. I collect certain actors and actresses like Joan Crawford and Betty Davis and Audrey Hepburn. So I went and grabbed a bunch of those, and then Judy Garland as well. Uh, that's where you find a lot of the classic actors and actresses who worked in Warner Brothers for many many years, a contract player and stuff
Hmm.
like that. Um, Recently, with our friend Suzanne Bolin, we bonded over "Pump Up the Volume" with
Great
Christian
movie.
Slater,
Great movie.
which is so great and such a hidden gem of a movie. We'll talk about Christian Slater a little bit later because a movie he was in is being put out by Second Sight. The Name of the Rose with Sean Connery that came out in like 1984, I think. So super young Christian Slater in that movie. This was some years later when he was much more popular. This is from 1990, so right around the Heathers time.
Hmm.
Um, which is I have to upgrade my copy of Heathers because Arrow put out a 4K of that last year, and
Hmm.
I've got to upgrade my old Blu-ray copy of that. But let's get into the Warner Archive stuff that they just announced recently.
Yeah.
They announced quite a few things. I think it was like 9 movies or so. We'll
Hmm.
count them down. We'll go through them. Macau from 1952, Crime Wave from 1953, uh, Colt 45 from 1950, The Keyhole from 1933, The Seventh Cross from 1944, Lily Turner from 1933, The Sisters from 1938, Presenting Lily Mars from 1943, speaking of Judy Garland.
Yeah.
And then we have Random Harvest from 1942, Captain Horatio Hornblower from 1951, starring Gregory Peck. We have Bonnie Scotland from 1935 and A Midsummer Night's Dream from 1935. All titles are scheduled to arrive on the market on July 28th, so they're all coming out that day.
Yeah.
But some of these actually were pushed into August, so not all of these are getting released. I think like half of these got pushed into August. I saw recently, so this is a little bit of an older, obviously press release here. But either way, towards the end of July into the early part of August, these will all come out. Um, yeah. Is there any one of these that particularly interests you uh,
Uh,
that you're
the,
looking to get?
the first one, definitely.
Mm,
Jane Russell, Robert Mitchum, great acting. Um, the thing about it is what's right there in bold, the fact that it's another restoration coming directly from the OCN, as we say. A lot of these movies, whether they were stuck on DVD or some even VHS, this is the first time they have any type of high def quality. So I like the fact that even though they're mostly Blu-ray, they're not settling with 2K restorations. They're going right for the 4K restorations. So
yeah.
even if we don't get a 4K of these, at least we'll have the quality there for the
Yeah.
disc to support it.
That is the thing I keep saying with these Warner Archive releases over the last decade or so. They look amazing. Like the
Hmm.
restorations they've been doing at Warner Archive have been nothing less than kind of perfect. Um, you know, Especially for a lot of these deeper catalog movies, which I've never really seen the light of day in terms of high quality releases. A lot of these movies either were on DVDs or on burn on demand DVDs through Warner Archive, which obviously are
Yeah.
not the best quality. The older DVDs, like I mentioned. But in terms of getting these in high definition, is kind of amazing. And to get new restorations is all you can really ask for. And I say this every single time. I sound like a broken record. You may not even get special features with these, and if you do get special features, they'll just be carryovers from the old DVDs.
Hmm.
But what the real magic when it comes to these is, like you said, the high quality of the way in which the movies look.
Yeah.
That's the real magic. That's what you're paying for. And especially with Macau, which stars Jane Russell and Robert Mitchum, two of my favorites. This is definitely one that I will be getting.
Yeah.
I've seen,
I'm big on film noir, so it
yeah,
definitely
film
needs to be
noir.
added.
I'm trying to get. There are certain actors and actresses I'm trying to get all of their films, and Robert Mitchum's definitely one of them. And so I've got to add this to the collection at some point. I was ironically, I was so when I'm doing like late night work, because usually I do a lot of stuff like past midnight and whatnot. So I'll just have TCM on
Yeah,
just in the background, and they were playing. And TCM plays their best stuff past midnight. I don't know what's going on there,
all the
but
noir stuff is then.
yeah, the noir. But yeah, I think it may have been noir actually because it was bleeding over from like Saturday into Sunday. Usually Sundays
Hmm.
when they do the Noir Alley stuff.
Yeah,
Speaking of which, we had the Czar of Noir here on Chasing
Eddie
Labels,
Eddie
Eddie
Muller is
Muller.
going to be on the
Highlight of
commentary.
my life. This was 2022, and this was before we were doing video and
Hmm.
whatnot. And this was like May-ish around that time. So it was like a month before my birthday. We had the Czar of Noir on, and he was promoting stuff he was doing with Flicker Alley because he and Flicker Alley team up to put out a lot of like really deep catalog noirs through his
Hmm.
Film Noir Foundation. Anywho, they were playing the movie The Yakuza, the Sidney Pollack film from the
Okay.
1970s,
Yeah.
and that's a movie that Warner Archive has put out on Blu-ray coincidentally. And so it's like a neo-noir from the 1970s where basically Robert Mitchum fights the Yakuza, where a friend of his, a big-time businessman, I think his daughter gets captured because he had a business deal with the Yakuza that goes south. So they capture his daughter, and he goes to his old friend who happens to be Robert Mitchum, who I guess is like an ex-military badass guy, and is like,
Hmm.
"Can you get my daughter back for me?" So he goes to Japan and fights the Yakuza. It's basically Taken with Robert
Wow.
Mitchum in the 70s. And it's like it's such a cool concept that I always that's how I pitch it to people because I don't know
Yeah,
how much harder you could sell a movie than that. But it was
that's
just on like
perfect.
super late at night, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And it's like that feels like the appropriate time for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, but this movie here, Macau, is also a film noir, and it is very, very good, starring Robert Mitchum. Back in his prime in the 1950s, I would say, not so much him with a shotgun in the 70s fighting the Yakuza. But
Mhm.
one of the most sizzling fusions of sex appeal of the 1950s, Jane Russell and Robert Mitchum ignite a tantalizing tale of mystery and deception. The quick pulse of the film noir begins as the three strangers arrive in Macau, the infamous Portuguese island off the south coast of China. A dangerous game of subterfuge is played out in the island's smoke filled hotels, gambling houses, bleak streets, and docks by Nick Cochran, Julie Benson, and Lawrence Trumbull, and a host of other shady characters, none of whom are what they seem to be. Mystery and intrigue abound in this film noir. Like KB said, there's a new 4K restoration from the original camera negative. There's an audio commentary by Eddie Muller from TCM with screenwriter Stanley Rubin. Private screening with Robert Mitchum and Jane Russell with Robert Osborne, also from TCM.
Yeah.
And then original theatrical trailer. It's definitely one to get.
Yeah. This is a TCM Blu-ray, basically.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is great because um sometimes there will be a TCM special feature on a release that on the DVD, and that doesn't translate over to the Blu-ray. Like they will have
Yeah.
one of the Robert Osborne intros, and it'll just not be over on the Blu-ray. I think for the Cecil B. DeMille film, um, Unconquered, there was a Robert Osborne intro that's not over on the Kino Blu-ray. I think it didn't get translated over. I'm assuming a rights issue,
Yeah.
probably because TCM is owned by Warner Brothers. It's also interesting that we're covering Warner Archive, and a lot of people still very scared that Warner Archive may go away with the new merger acquisition between Warner Brothers and Paramount.
Hmm.
There were similar concerns when Warner Brothers and AT&T came together, created Time Warner there for a little while. There were similar concerns when Discovery and Warner Brothers became one entity. What was it called? It's going to be irrelevant now, anyways. Discovery Warner Brothers or Warner Brothers Discovery, whatever the combined name was.
I can't
It
keep
didn't
up.
go away then. It didn't go
No.
away then, and it may not go away now, but you just never know.
Yeah.
Ironically, Chasing Labels has been around through mostly all of this, and there's always been that fear of Warner Archive going away because it's a boutique. It's the boutique label of Warner Brothers, and I don't know how much the new regime will care about putting out that catalog of Warner Brothers on physical media. Most big time right now really don't care about putting their movies out in physical media in general, let alone their old stuff. And
Yeah.
you don't even know how expensive these restorations are.
I
Uh,
think that's why we're seeing a push with more archive releases.
yeah, and I even mentioned when this whole like even when Netflix was gonna possibly acquire Warner Brothers. They're not in the game of physical media. I
Oh,
was like, basically, if there's Warner Brothers titles that you want, whether it be Warner Archive, whether it be mainstream titles, buy them while you can, just in case.
yeah.
Just in case something does happen, you'll be all set. But for other stuff on here, I did get to see actually all of these movies, but I feel like we'll be here for another hour if we go through every single one of these. And we do have other things to go through, but I do want to hit some highlights here or make mentions of some stuff. If you're a Western fan or even a fan of B Westerns, I would say B Westerns, Colt 45 is a fun one. People may also remember that Warner Archive put out the complete series of Colt 45 as well. So Colt 45 series is a loose adaptation of the Colt 45 movie, which came out in like 1950, starring Randolph Scott. This is kind of a fun B Western, if you will. And yeah, so let's see. Description: Gunsmith Steve Farrell, Randolph Scott, arrives in the town of Bonanza Flats to demonstrate the ultimate advancement in frontier weaponry, the new rapid-fire Colt 45. But when ruthless outlaw villain Brett Amrock, who's named Zach, who's the actor Zachary Scott, deceptively steals a pair of those revolutionary revolvers, he unleashes a brutal wave of terror across the territory. Wrongfully accused of aiding the bandits, Farrell must break away from the law, track down the vicious gang, and reclaim the deadly weapons before the West is completely overrun. The classic Western vibes here.
Hmm.
It's kind of like Winchester 73, but nowhere near as good. Like a B version of Winchester 73. But it's a lot of fun. New 4K restoration of this movie from the Technicolor negatives. Now, I'm always shocked when they still have Technicolor
original.
negatives, KB, because most of these ended up either destroyed or completely lost
Wow.
in time. So that's awesome to see. And this classic WB comedy short, So You Want to Have a Party, classic WB cartoon, Hillbilly Hair, probably starring Bugs Bunny. And let's see, some other good stuff here. The Keyhole, which stars Kay Francis, who's one of my favorites, and George Brent. I think this is a pre-code film. I love getting pre-code films. Like pre-code films are my jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I always kind of like to scoop them up when they get Blu-ray releases too. Kay Francis and George Brent co-star in this infectious pre-code classic, directed by signature panache by Michael Curtiz. Michael Curtiz directed many, many movies. There's a new Steven Spielberg movie out right now called Disclosure Day. Steven Spielberg took many, many things from Michael Curtiz and incorporated into the way he makes movies. So if you've seen a Spielberg film, you've seen a lot of Michael Curtizisms in the movie, especially Indiana Jones. He took a lot from his movie Adventures of Robin Hood, which I would love to get a 4K release at some point, and he incorporated that into Raiders of the Lost Ark. But Kay Francis portrays Anne Brooks, a socialite with complicated marital status. She's married to an older, wealthier gentleman while not being quite properly divorced from her unseemly ex. Anne flees to Cuba to untangle her circumstances with her suspicious husband not far behind. He hires suave detective Neil Davis, portrayed by George Brett, to tail her and gather evidence against Anne. The assignment takes a steamy, unexpected turn when the investigator tries to get the goods on her, only to fall madly in love with her instead. Happens. Aboard a cruise ship bound for Cuba, this pre-code delight sails into a web of blackmail, mistaken identities, and irresistible romance. As these things happen. New 4K restoration of the film from the original camera negative. There's a WB cartoon, Buddy's Day Out. There's a Popeye cartoon, Wild Elfings. That's kind of cool. And yeah, that's a nice pre-code film. And then you have this movie called The Seventh Cross, which is kind of like The Great Escape. Kind of. So somewhere in Nazi Germany, there is a concentration camp, and in that camp there are 7 crosses, one for each of the men who dare to escape. There's the Great Escape analogy there. One by one, the Gestapo hunts down the 7 and returns them to the crosses and obviously death, until there is 1 cross left and 1 man is trying to escape it. This is directed by Fred Zinnemann. Fred Zinnemann is a great director. He won 2 or 3 Oscars for his work. Fred Zinnemann, he directed The Search. He directed High Noon. I think From Here to Eternity is also Fred Zinnemann, which is an excellent film. But the star of this movie is Spencer Tracy, one of my favorites. He's the man on the run in this film. and Hume Cronin is a great character actor. Jessica Tandy is in the film as well.
Mm.
Let's see, there's a Agnes Moorehead is in the film too. This tense, terse, and gripping wartime thriller both plumbs the depths of the human depravity and soars to the heights of human charity and sacrifice as one man's journey through hell restores his faith in mankind. New 4K restoration of the film from the best preservation elements, 3 MGM shorts by Fred Zinnemann himself. Yeah, there's a. Let's see, I don't want to hit all of these, or else normally I would just go through all of these, but because this is all my stuff. This is all stuff I love. So let me just hit the highlights here. So the sisters, I think the sisters in presenting Lara Mars, Lily Mars, and the Random Harvest. Those will be the three, and then we'll move on. Just because Random Harvest I know is a favorite for many, and the
Same
sisters stars
here.
Betty Davis, which is awesome. It stars Betty Davis and Errol Flynn. So I was delighted with this part because it was a change of pace. Quoted by Betty Davis, said about playing Louise Elliott in The Sisters. I was always challenged by a new type of person to play. Louise is the most appealing type of person, a warm, intelligent woman who loses her heart to a charming ne'er-do-well, Errol Flynn, who marries, then deserts her. It takes the pandemonium of the San Francisco earthquake and 2 years of heartache to reunite them. That kind of giving up the whole story there. But this movie takes place between 1904 and 1908. It centers around three sisters and their subsequent marriages and their lives, but it really concentrates most primarily on Betty Davis's character as well as Errol Flynn for obvious reasons. This movie came out in 1938. These were two big stars of the 1930s. That would make a lot of sense to do that. And you get the movie from pretty much their perspective. And if you're big fans of Errol Flynn and Betty Davis, I don't think I could sell you harder on the movie than that. New 4K restoration of the film from the original camera negative, studio blooper reel breakdowns of 1938, Warner Brothers short The Night Intruder, Lux Theater broadcast with Irene Dunn and David Niven. And then the original theatrical trailer. So I'm trying to get all of Betty Davis's work. For me, I love Betty Davis, especially in the 1930s. I thought she was like the best actress of the 1930s. She did a movie called Of Human Bondage, which I think is only available through an old Kino Classics release, like one of their white covers, their white slip covers.
Yeah, like The Stranger, it's one of those.
Yeah, exactly like The Stranger or their release of Nosferatu, which I have too. And I think that movie's incredible. Came out in, I think, 33 or 34, and I think Betty Davis was nominated for an Oscar for it, but as a write-in candidate, which is something obviously not. They don't do it now. They don't do those things now. But she's so good in this movie called Of Human Bondage. I think she was paired up. Oh, I can't remember his name. I gotta look it up because it's gonna bother me. Excuse me for one moment as I take a sidetrack once again through movie history. What's crazy is I start looking these things up, and then all of a sudden it hits me out of nowhere. I believe it's the actor who ended up Leslie Howard. That's who it is. Leslie Howard, who actually died during World War II while he was serving. He was an extraordinary actor. He was in the movie Petrified Forest, which is a film noir classic, in my opinion, with Humphrey Bogart, who played a heavy in that movie, plays the bad guy in that. But Leslie Howard was a great actor in the 1930s, but he passed away during combat in World War II. That's a whole fascinating thing, how many actors and actresses served parts in World War II. But moving on from there, we have Presenting Lily Mars. Now, this stars Judy Garland, who's one of my all-time favorites. Many people probably know Judy Garland. I don't think I have to intro Judy Garland. Famed for being Dorothy in Wizard of Oz, iconic all-time. Somewhere Over the Rainbow, all the music from that movie. It just celebrated a gargantuan release like 2 years ago, or anniversary. And it got a brand new 4K release, which I heard looks fantastic. I still have the old, I don't know if the Warner Bros. Put out those big boxes, those big collector's edition boxes. I have the 3D one. Remember when they were putting out 3D re-releases of old movies? Remember they put out like Jurassic Park in 3D, Titanic in 3D.
Yeah.
They started going back and putting out like The Wizard of Oz in 3D. And I just thought that was odd because I don't think it was originally exhibited in 3D. Nowadays they put it in the Sphere in Las Vegas and they add like new stuff to it and whatnot. which many people think is sacrilege, which I kind of understand. But I have an old version of that, but there's a new 4K of that. There's another 4K of it as well, which is like a steelbook edition, which comes with all kind of extras and goodies. Um, Got to get my Wizard of Oz. I had Wizard of Oz was a VHS tape I had as a kid that was on a regular rotation.
Same.
Um, yeah, it was a regular thing. So I've always had Judy Garland on the mind my whole life. But presenting Judy Garland, whether singing a hot number with Bob Crosby and his orchestra or emoting a hilariously hammy version of Lady Macbeth's sleepwalking scene, Judy is a delight as a stage-struck Hoosier in this charming film based on the Booth Tarkington's novel. Lily is certain she has the talent to light up the Great White Way. So when big producer John Thornway, portrayed by Van Heflin, visits her hometown, she expends all of the candle power of her charisma to impress him. He's not impressed. He heads back to New York City, and Lily follows, thumbing her way east. One that she's sure is a one-way trip to an instant stardom. As a mere 20 years old, Judy Garland had already reached stardom. So this was done. I think this came out in 1944, so about 5 years after her breakout role in The Wizard of Oz, and she's playing this kind of starstruck young, like 19, 20-year-old person who wants to become a star in the theater. And it just so happens that the neighbors that she's grown up next to and the family that she knows, their son is a big-time Broadway producer portrayed by Van Heflin. Now, to me, Van Heflin, I think, is one of the most underrated actors, in my opinion. He was in this movie called Johnny Eager, where he played like Johnny Eager's like best friend, who was like this drunk poet guy who was constantly dropping wisdom to him. He won an Oscar for that movie. To this day, I want Johnny Eager on a Blu-ray release so badly. But Van Heflin is in this film, and she basically tries everything she can to impress upon this guy to put her in his next play. She starts like performing for him randomly out of nowhere. She starts harassing him. She won't leave him alone, and she even follows him to New York to try to get in this play. And the movie kind of goes from there. You can kind of understand the way the movie kind of entails after that. But Judy Garland, of course, sings and dances and performs in this movie. You're not going to have a movie in the 1940s without her doing that.
Right.
And she's great in the film. Van Heflin's really good in it too. The movie itself, I think, is okay. I mean, some of the conflicts in it, I think, resolve rather quickly. And I think the third act conflict kind of resolves rather quickly as well. But I'm a big fan of Judy Garland. Speaking of which, I think one of these, in the stack of these, I just got The Clock, which is coincidentally one of her more serious roles. It's a movie in which I don't believe she does any singing and dancing in it. This movie is excellent. This movie stars her and Robert Walker, where there are two people who just happen to meet while Robert Walker is on I think he's on like what's a vacation that the military people take? Like
On
a
leave?
relief? Yeah, like a
Like
leave.
he's on leave or something?
Yeah, he's on leave, and they happen to meet, and they have this whirlwind type of connection and romance and something like that. And this movie is incredibly charming in that regard. These two young people kind of meeting just by happenstance. I believe this was originally an MGM picture, but this is
Yeah.
this
She
is
was on
great.
a contract. Same thing with this one here. This is a MGM musical. So I think they have license for a lot of those old MGM titles.
Well, yeah, it goes back to the deal that Ted Turner made. Speaking of what, Ted Turner recently passed. Ted Turner made in the '80s to basically acquire a a lot of the old MGM catalog, and that's why Warner Brothers has been putting out MGM movies on DVD, VHS, Blu-ray, 4K now for years. I just mentioned The Wizard of Oz. Wizard
Yeah.
of Oz was an MGM film. Um, Gone with the Wind, MGM film. Basically everything from like pre 1980s. That's an MGM film for the most part, not everything. Um, is owned by Warner Brothers. A lot of MGM has got to be one of the most complicated catalogs in terms of who owns what. Like
Mm-hmm.
Amazon owns stuff now
I was
because
just
they
about
own
to say that.
MGM.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff is just kind of out there. You see some MGM titles get boutique releases so randomly. I just mentioned I think we talked about Arrow releases last time here on the show, and an MGM title was like Bill and Ted's Bogus, the second Bill, Bogus Journey. Like
Yeah.
that's an MGM title, and I mentioned that one of the producers over at Arrow, Michael McKenzie, he worked on it, and he made mention over on his Facebook that due to the contract they had with the MGM for the title, they couldn't make any changes in terms of adding new features or adding things to the booklet or anything like that. So they just had to kind of like carry everything over. And I believe those things are like studio dependent and contract dependent, depending on the studio. But Warner Brothers has owned like MGM back catalog stuff for a very long time, and even to this day. So all of the old Judy Garland stuff, because she was a contract player at MGM with Louis B. Mayer famously kind of abused her and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
her parents were terrible to her, and which led to her having all kinds of complications later on in life, which is why she passed away so young. She passed away in her 40s, I believe, in the 1960s. But Judy Garland has always been one of my favorites. So we'll just do random harvest, and we will move on to the next thing that we'll be talking about here, just to kind of move things along a little bit. Paula Smith, portrayed by Greg Garson, is the Secretary Industrialist Charles Rainier. Is the Secretary of Industrialist Charles Rainier. That makes more sense. She's also his wife. What do you know? What Charles does not know, shell-shocked World War One. Shell-shocked World War One. He doesn't recall his days as her husband, John Smith. Doesn't recall her days as her husband, John Smith. Advised not to endanger Charles's fragile mental state, Paula cannot openly reveal her identity. She must find other ways to remember their life together. From the novel by James Hilton, who did Goodbye, Mr. Chips and Lost Horizon, two movies that have been adapted into films as well, comes one of the great sentimental romance movies. Garson's Paula, along her same year triumph as Mrs. Miniver, established her persona as the strong, self-sacrificing wife. Random Harvest gathered 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Coleman as Best Actor, and also reaping a box office harvest as the year's number 4 hit. 4K restoration of the film from the best preservation elements, some MGM shorts as well. Yeah, Random Harvest is considered a real golden age classic. It's interesting they mentioned Mrs. Miniver as well, which is also another one from that era that's very well regarded too, starring Greer Garson. So that is I think that's good. I do want to mention this one though. A Midsummer Night's Dream. Why? I'm a bit of a fan of Shakespeare. I do like my poetry. I do like my classic literature. And any Shakespeare adaptation, I'm always interested in. I did get to see this, and I think KB, I believe you've seen this movie years ago as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, I was poking around on your letterbox to get a little inside track here. Actually, I went to okay. I wasn't being a spy here. I went to a Midsummer Night's. Yeah, I went to a Midsummer Night's Dream, and I saw KB. I saw you on there, having seen the movie.
Yeah.
But this movie is interesting to me because it's done in 1935, starring a range of actors and actresses at the time, and it is pretty much a straightforward adaptation of the Shakespeare play. It's not an easily digestible form or adaptation of it at all. So I want to make mention that if you're a fan of Shakespeare and you've got the ear and the mind for Shakespeare, this one may be for you. But if you don't, it's not really that accessible to you as a viewer. James Cagney doing Shakespeare. I never thought I'd see that, but here we are. Here we are.
Now you got me looking back on when I saw it. So that was right before COVID that I saw this. Over-the-top performances by Rooney and Cagney, but fun to watch.
That makes sense. And when I was watching, I had that in mind, and I'm like, that makes sense. It's a theatrical adaptation, so the performances are always going to be over the top and emotionally fraught and all that kind of stuff. It makes sense. If you're more in line with someone like the way Kenneth Branagh adapts Shakespeare, this would be kind of more your speed, as opposed to some other forms of adaptations of Shakespeare to make it more easily digestible. Even like Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, while it does have the language, I felt like it was a little more digestible than this one, because this one does take place in the period time. I brought this up many times, KB. So for those of you listening, it's kind of a broken record here. I love Shakespearean adaptations in other forms. Like I
Mm,
love when they take the story and it's adapted in different form. I always think of Akira Kurosawa's Throne of Blood, which is Macbeth with samurais. I
right.
always think of 10 Things I Hate About You, which transports the taming of the shrew to, late 90s, early 2000s high school teenage angst
Hmm.
setting, which I think is very digestible even to this day. It also does help that you've got people like Heath Ledger's in there and recognizable names and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I always like those types of adaptations, or even if you take Macbeth and set it in modern times and stuff like that. Or there was it Hamlet starring Ethan Hawke in the '90s, which was set during a modern time. That one's also really good. But then I also do like my more traditional adaptations of Shakespeare as well. I'm one of the biggest fans of the Michael Fassbender version of Macbeth that came out a few years ago, directed by was it by Kurtzman? Um, but it was one that was done in this super surreal, almost Braveheart esque style of Macbeth. Came out in I think 2015. It had Marion Cotillard as Lady Macbeth. Very surreal movie. It was Justin Kurzel. That's who it was. He directed that. I watched that movie like 3 times in 4 days. I thought it was fantastic.
Wow.
Um, yeah, Patty Considine portrays Banquo in that. Um, yeah, Macbeth is kind of my favorite Shakespeare adaptation, so I always go to that. And I have to bring up Orson Welles' Macbeth, which is such a surreal masterpiece from an all time master, in my opinion. But this is just me turning the show into Shakespeare hour over here on Chasing Labels. Come, we will be reciting sonnets for the next hour. Get them out. But this version of A Midsummer Night's Dream, which has been adapted many times, has a new 4K restoration from the original camera negative and nitrate protection elements. Commentary by film historian Scott McQueen. Olivia de Havilland screen test for Danton. Vintage featurette, A Dream Comes True. Presenting a gallery of 6 teaser trailers showcasing cast members, Warner Brothers Studio Cafe teaser trailer, Warner Brothers musical short Shake Mr. Shakespeare, original theatrical trailer. And I have to say, talk about surreal elements. This movie does some camera and production work for the 1930s that is incredibly impressive. We're talking like surreal overlays of images and all kinds of stuff, some magical moments. The production of this must have been massive for the time and just for the money. Really, really excellent stuff. Some of the stars in here were, we mentioned James Cagney, but Olivia de Havilland, Dick Powell, Joey Brown. Wow, Joey Brown. We talked about yeah, some of the best. He had some great work in Some Like It Hot, Joey Brown, Some Like It Hot. Uh, but yeah, this is a kind of a big release for them because I remember seeing this DVD all the time when I was just out hunting for movies,
That's
and
how I saw it on DVD.
yeah, it was always, ironically, it was always at Barnes and Noble. Every time I would go to Barnes and Noble for Criterion's, they would have a random copy of A Midsummer Night's Dream on DVD, and I was like, hopefully this movie gets a Blu-ray someday. Well, 15 years later, here we are.
Now
Here
today.
we are. No
Now
time like the
today.
present. But that is it for Warner Archive. Now we'll move on to someplace else. Now, KB, is there any place you would like to go? I mean, I just clicked on Radiance. I don't know if you want to go here.
I, 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 the Radiance titles, I remember when they first started coming out, I would pick up some here and there. I've really fell off on picking up Radiance titles.
You and me both.
Yeah.
I've got a whole shelf area that's got a bunch of them. Do I
Hmm.
have any around me? No, I have them on my shelf, but they're probably one of the most consistent of all of the boutique labels, and I've said it here every single time, every
Yeah.
single month. They have announcements every single month. They have releases, and we are on like year 3 now of them doing this. They have sub labels now, or with their sub labels of Transmission, which is putting out really interesting stuff. Like they put out Night of the Juggler, which is excellent. They put out The Stuntman, which is excellent, and they're putting out this movie Joe, which is also very interesting, specifically for the time in which it came out and for modern time as well. So I guess we'll get into these. Why not? But we're here, they're here. Let's do this thing. Um, I'm paraphrasing from the movie Patton with George C. Scott, where Patton apparently wanted to go to war with the Russians right after World War II. Kind of a psycho, that guy.
A
But
little bit.
anywho, uh, that was great. They were at like the after. It was basically the after World War II like conference of everybody getting together and like celebrating. Hey, the war's over, and Patton was like trying to tell everybody in the military, hey, we should go to war with them now. It's like we're going to do it eventually. Uh, kind of crazy. Great scene in the movie though. Uh, but we have the Radiance titles here. I believe these are the September titles. Um, and every single month, like their next announcement will be July 8th, right at the top of the screen here. And uh, like I said, like clockwork. So we have the movie Joe, which is getting a limited edition release from their Transmission sub label. We have a box set here of treasures from the Golistan Film Studio. Excuse me. We have New Rose Hotel, which is an Abel Ferrara film. A lot of Abel Ferrara films have been getting released lately.
Yeah,
We
I
have
noticed that.
yeah, yeah, I've noticed that we've been covering them here, and Abel Ferrara is such a unique filmmaker.
Hmm.
This movie, in and of itself, also unique, which we will get into. The Saragossa manuscript, which is a 4K UHD release. We have the movie Corruption from 1963, I believe. It's an Italian film. I'll get into that because I did get to watch it. And the Inugami Family, which is, I believe, is a Japanese film. Now, I didn't get to watch all of these because I can kind of get away with not watching because I'm gonna buy these eventually. It'll just be down the line sometime. Definitely Joe, I will be getting because I remember this movie getting a Blu-ray release several years ago. This is the movie from the 1970s, starring Peter Boyle. Yeah, it actually came out in 1970. And it was a 2018 Blu-ray release from Olive Films, which is long out of print. Olive Films no longer exists, actually.
Right.
So if you can find some Olive Film stuff, you can find them, usually laying around because there's just so much stock of it left over. Olive Films is one of those companies. I've said it before. I'll say it again. They were putting out catalog stuff before anybody else was really putting out catalog stuff. Now they didn't have the money to do like elite restorations or elite special features or anything like that. But at least the movies were out on Blu-ray, at least out on disc. So at least it had that going for it. And then they started their Olive Signature line, which they tried to do new restorations and do special features. Basically, their version of Criterion. And then after that, they kind of just stopped putting out things. And then the pandemic hit with COVID, and then they just kind of disappeared. And then they officially came out, I think last year or the year before, and said, yeah, we're done. We're no longer around. And their licenses have all lapsed, and they've all been picked up by other companies, including Joe. So let's get into this movie starring Peter Boyle, who I don't think a lot of people know that Peter Boyle did movies. I know people may predominantly know Peter Boyle for what he did later in his career, which was being on the sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond, which was a favorite in my household when it was on, and it's still it airs on TV Land now, which is kind of nuts. The
That's
shows I
crazy.
watched were new when I was a kid are now on late night old TV show channels. Time is moving fast.
Yeah.
uh, it's kind of nuts. 90s sitcoms and 2000 sitcoms are now considered old television. But Joe is an interesting movie set during its time, of its time, and also appropriately modern as well, or inappropriately modern because of the character of Joe that is portrayed by Peter Boyle in this movie. Now, I'll just read this here and see what they say. So, Keep America Beautiful. Okay. After his daughter, who's portrayed by Susan Sarandon in her first screen role, overdoses on heroin, wealthy New York businessman Bill Compton confronts her drug dealer boyfriend in a rage and accidentally murders him. Stunned, he retreats to a nearby bar and finds himself confessing his crime to a stranger, the charismatic yet deeply bigoted blue-collar factory worker Joe, a remarkable Peter Boyle. Without reading anything else, because I don't want to give away anything else, that's the inciting incident of this movie. That's where things kind of take off. And the character of Joe is one of the most racist, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic pieces of crap you'll ever see in a movie. Like, there is no slur and no racial stereotype he is not going to identify with in this
Wow.
movie. Or like he's watching television and just ranting in this bar, and the people around him obviously know who he is, or they know the type of person he is because they're just ignoring him. And he's just ranting and raving about, you know, people who are on welfare are all from a certain demographic. They're taking American taxpayer money. He's going on and on and on. And what is baffling to me, watching this from a 2026 perspective, there are people that still think like him that are walking around today. Not only are they walking around today, they are loud and proudly exhibiting these horrific,
Mm-hmm.
characteristics.
Yep.
And they're as bold as ever, whether it's 1970 or 2026. They're still here. This demented ideology that people like him have hasn't died in 50 plus years. You know what I mean? If anything, it's more emboldened today and has a platform more so today than ranting and raving at a local town bar, because we have the internet, we have social media, we have all kinds of stuff. But what happens is these two guys kind of connect on this really messed up level of like prejudice and hatred towards society, specific young people in society, and they kind of strike up this bond. And there's also like a class difference as well. This guy's like a wealthy New York businessman. The Joe character portrayed by Peter Boyle is a working class blue collar guy. One like lives in one lives in like a high rise apartment. One lives in like a lowly you know smaller home and whatnot. So they're from two different classes, but they have the same level of hatred for people that connects them both. I guess they're bonded through hatred, if you will. And then this movie kind of takes off from there. But this movie is also a cautionary tale of what that hatred can do and what it can lead to. The blind hatred and the bigotry can blind you towards a lot of things and can make you do things that are not good, that are
Yeah.
evil. And sometimes people are blinded to that because they get emotionally overtaken by these things. And this movie explores that in 1970. Let
Yeah, I
alone,
was
yeah,
looking
which is
at that
incredible.
the director is the same person who did Rocky, which would
Yeah,
be 5 years later from this movie here.
which is
So,
interesting to me because Rocky is considered kind of the ultimate American film, the rags
mhm.
to riches story, living the American dream. I mean, every single poster you see of Rocky, he's like draped in the American flag, which is actually a shot from, I believe, Rocky 4 as opposed to Rocky
Mhm.
1. But, you know, Rocky's story is synonymous with the American dream. And it's so interesting how the movie shows the erosion of American society, or the
Yeah.
erosion or the demented form of the evils of American society, while Rocky is, the underdog story. It shows what the American spirit can do in terms of uplifting one out of their circumstances.
Yeah.
I love Rocky. Rocky's one of my favorite franchises ever.
Yeah.
I love the Creed movies as well. I think in terms of legacy sequels, how legacy sequels have become kind of a thing now over the last decade. I think those are
Mhm.
some of the best legacy sequels in terms of being able to carry on the spirit of the original films and the spirit and themes of the original films. I think those have done a really good job. But Rocky hitting in the mid 1970s was also an interesting time, and we all know the story of Sylvester
Yeah.
Stallone and
Yeah.
all that. Heck, I think they're working on the biopic of the making of Rocky right now, which is
Oh,
supposed to
wow.
come out. Um, I saw them shooting that the other day. I don't know if it's coming out. Probably if they're shooting it now, my guess is next year. That would be my guess. But yeah, it's interesting. And then John G. Alvinson will of course go on to direct The Karate Kid, which is kind of like Rocky but in a teenage
Yeah.
form. Another great franchise that has also had a legacy sequel with the Cobra Kai series that was on
Mhm.
Netflix, which continued on that story in that same world. Very interesting. But this movie here, Joe, is fascinating. I heard about this movie years ago, especially when the Blu-ray came out, and how kind of harsh of a movie it is. And it is indeed a harsh film because the Joe character is he has no filter whatsoever, no sense of awareness of the world around him other than his own ideas. He's so blinded by his own demented ideas of the way in which the world is that he never takes any moment to really think about things. But this is the UK premiere Blu-ray release of this. High definition digital transfer, original uncompressed mono audio, newly recorded audio commentary with critics Matt Zoller Seitz and Jason Bailey, new interview with critic Ellen E. Jones, theatrical trailers with audio and commentary options. That's interesting. from actor and producer Mark Edward Hoyk, Stills Gallery, and then there's a limited edition booklet, and then of course limited to 3,000 copies. And this is coming out 9/14/26. That's when this is coming out.
So the 14th.
Yeah. So this is transmission number 7. I have the first 2. I still need to get the third one, which is called Special Effects. And then they just put out, Vampire's Kiss with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Apparently, they just added a new special feature to that, which makes me want to get that even though I have the MVD Blu-ray of it.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at.
Yeah, and it has all the same special features from the MVD Blu-ray, and then I think they're adding one as well. But yeah, Vampire's Kiss. But it's tough to keep up on these. Also, when these go out of print, tracking these down can get quite expensive. I've mentioned it every time Radiance comes around. I'm missing a couple of earlier releases, and trying to track these down for a relatively nice price is impossible. It really is impossible. I was just
You got to
looking
get
at
it from the
even
beginning.
Yeah, since my birthday is coming up, I like to like treat myself to like things I've been trying to get, but I haven't gotten quite yet.
Mhm.
So I was on eBay looking for the End of Civilization box set that they put out. It was like I think it was the number 30th release or whatever, and that thing is so hard to get. And then I was trying to look for World Noir Volume 1, which is tough to get. And then I've got to see what else I'm missing. But I can't count them up now, but I've got a good range of them. And I got to keep adding, because if I fall too far behind, you never know. You never know how things can get. You get a covered in snow, like an avalanche of Radiance releases. But speaking of which, let's move on to the next release, which I know absolutely nothing about. So we will learn all this together. The treasures from the Golistan Film Studio. I didn't get to watch any of these, so this is just going to be me reading to you like it's bedtime. Treasures from the Golistan Film Studios. For the first time ever on home video. That already piques my interest. This collection presents the complete output from the iconoclastic independent Iranian film studio founded in the late 1950s. Wow, that's going back a time, specifically if you're familiar at all with the history of Iran. That's going back a ways. By a towering figure of Iranian culture, Ibrahim Golistan. The studio's earliest productions were documentaries that helped bring Iranian cinema to international attention, including The House is Black, directed by poet Farrokhzad. From 1961, the studio turned to fiction. 2 feature films were completed, including the pivotal Brick and Mirror, both of which are presented here. After years of circulation in compromised versions, sometimes altered by censorship, these classics, which map the origins of the Iranian New Wave, are now presented in restored and definitive versions. The 9 films in this box set move fluidly from prose, poetry to political allegory, achieving remarkable results that have inspired generations of filmmakers from Abbas Kiarostami and Jonathan Glazer. Okay. This intrigues me to no end, because it feels like film school in a box. It feels like this is something that's being uncovered and for us to learn about, and stuff that's been, not been in circulation for what seemingly has been decades. I'm definitely intrigued. So let's see. We have new 4K restorations of Brick and Mirror from the original camera negative by Cineteca de Bologna and Ekran Noir Productions / Ferodin Farouz under the supervision of Ibrahim Golistan. Let's see, we have outtake from Brick and Mirror, introduction by curator and Golistan Restoration Project collaborator, let's see, Ihsan Kashbakht, a visual essay on Ibrahim Golistan by Kashbakht as well, restoration program of 3 short documentaries. There's a restoration program of the Golistan's documentaries following his recurrent theme of the land and its people. There's a whole list of stuff here. Introduction to each program. There's a new 4K restoration of The Secrets of Jin Valley, treasures from the original camera negative. This is a massive box here. Introduction to by Ishan Kashbakht, See You Friday, Robinson, Mitra Farhad's award-winning documentary chronicling an exchange of ideas between 2 giants of cinema, Golistan and Jean-Luc Godard. on the
Wow.
meaning of the creativity in the twilight of life from 2022. For those of you keeping track at home, Godard passed away not too soon after that, I believe. Um, that's an hour and a half long interview between those two individuals. And then there's a booklet here as well, limited 3,000 copies. This is region free. It says region A, B, and C. Coming out also September 14th as well. So this
Mm.
is a massive box set from them. I'm curious how many discs it is. It says 9 films, but many of them, I think it's only 3 features. It looks like 3 features and then some shorts. So I'm assuming the shorts don't take up a lot of space on discs. So I'm not sure how many discs this would be. It doesn't look like it's in a box. It looks like it's in one of their standard Blu-ray cases. So we shall see. But that is talk about undiscovered films. Next is a movie called New Rose Hotel, which is an Abel Ferrara film from I believe 2000 or 1999, around there. And this stars Asia Argento, who I believe they collaborated on a couple of films. So Abel Ferrara, who they say they credited him for Miss 45, which is the movie that just got a Criterion, just got an Arrow 4K release
Hmm.
last year, I believe. That movie is crazy. That
Yeah,
movie's
I
crazy.
saw that on the big screen. That is a
Did you?
crazy movie. Yeah,
Oh my goodness. What a
yeah.
I would say it would be a treat, but it is because the movie's good, but also a difficult watch
Hmm.
because it's dealing with sexual assault. But it's one of those rape revenge films where it has a whole subgenre in and of itself. Abel Ferrara never the filmmaker to shy away from anything like that. He's one of those guys who's like Gaspar Noé, like uh, Lars von Trier, like all these guys. They never shy away from what they put on screen at all. And because last time I had Tony Miches on and we talked about Irreversible and talk about a movie that doesn't shy away from anything. My
Mm.
goodness. uh, but this movie here is an interesting film because it's told in this kind of lucid, kind of dreamlike aesthetic. I'll get into it here. It's got a plot. This movie stars both Christopher Walken and Willem Dafoe, as well as Asia Argento. An interesting cast here. Also, Christopher Walken is doing his usual Walkenisms in this movie, like the way in which he pronounces certain words. That it kind of took me out of the movie a little bit for a second. But here we go. Abel Ferrara directs cyberpunk pioneer William Gibson's neo-noir short story about industrial espionage. William Gibson wrote many cyberpunk, sci-fi, futuristic, dystopian works. His biggest, probably most well-known one is Neuromancer. Um, that's actually the only one I've read. That's why I'm bringing it up. Two extraction specialists, Fox and X. Fox is portrayed by Christopher Walken. X is portrayed by Willem Dafoe. Are hired to tempt the genius Hiroshi away from a rival company by using sexy call girl Sandy, portrayed by Asia Argento. Featuring a variety of screens and footage, New Rose Hotel uses these mixed media formats to distance us from Hiroshi as an intractable presence that emphasizes the lack of control experienced by Fox and X, while also presenting a prescient view of our own engagement with screens and digital communications. Misunderstood upon release, Ferrara's feverish film has been reappraised in recent years and compared to David Lynch's exploration of perception and paranoia, newly restored and making its UK home video debut, New Rose Hotel is one of the finest examples of cyberpunk on film. Now, they say that, yet for me, this movie really doesn't utilize the cyberpunk aesthetic. So when I think of cyberpunk, I think of Blade Runner. I think
Hmm.
of stuff like that, where this dystopian near future weird world. I'm thinking of even the television show Firefly, which has cyberpunk elements, kind of like a cyberpunk western in
Johnny
space.
Mnemonic.
Yeah, I'm thinking of things like that, or even, I mean, there's the anime Cowboy Bebop, which would be like a
Love that.
cyberpunk, yeah,
Love
cyberpunk
that.
anime. I've been thinking about Cowboy Bebop recently, just in general, but that's kind of a cyberpunk anime. I think of that aesthetic, you know what I mean? That anime aesthetic, even something like Akira, that's cyberpunk. So this movie really, while it says it's set in that world, you don't see that world. That's the interesting kind of way in which this movie is structured. You only get the story from the perspective of the people involved in it. Like I just mentioned, Christopher Walken and Willem Dafoe. You will get a scene with them talking in a room together. You never see them like outside moving around. You never see them going like traveling from one place to another. You see them inside of a club. You'll see Asia Argento's character dancing inside of a nightclub, or she'll be in a hotel room with Willem Dafoe's character. They have a little romance going on in this movie. So you see a lot of like sexual scenes and nudity and stuff like that, but they'll be in a room together. You never see this outside cyberpunk world. So to say that this movie is set in that world and explores that world is not really it. It may be exploring the themes of of a world like that, but it
Hmm.
doesn't really have that quite aesthetic. That's why like it's a little misleading. But the movie is interesting because it's more about the human relationships than anything, and the relationship between the characters. That's where the movie really kind of is more focused than anything else. But yeah, if you're a fan of Christopher Walken and you're a Christopher Walken completist, you're a Willem Dafoe completist, you're probably going to want to check this movie out. At least give it a watch. I forgot where I did. I forgot where I watched it actually. I can't remember if it's streaming anywhere or if I had to rent it. But it's an interesting movie from Abel Ferrara. I was expecting something a little different. Um, I was expecting like like a more exploration of that world, and I was expecting the movie to be a little harsher because I'm so used to Abel Ferrara as a rather harsh filmmaker, and
Yeah,
it really isn't that.
gritty.
Yeah, more gritty filmmaker. But let me get into what the special features are on this release. Um, And if you're an Abel Ferrara, completionist as well, and you have a section in your collection, you may want to check this out as well. So 2K restoration from the 35 millimeter interpositive by Vinegar Syndrome, approved by Abel Ferrara. Now that leads me to believe that was there a Vinegar Syndrome release of this? Or is there going to be a Vinegar Syndrome release of this? And I can't even check their website right now because their website only has the partner labels.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so
If they have it here, that means they either put it out maybe in the past.
yeah, so I'm looking over on Blu-ray.com. And there was a New Rose Hotel cinematograph release from
That can be
2025.
that old. Yeah.
Yeah, so it did just come out. Now, how did I'm trying to remember if I talked about it here on Chasing Labels. Um, I don't remember if I talked about it or not. But either way, there is a cinematograph release of New Rose Hotel. Or was it? Yeah, I'll say yeah. Because I know they put out another Abel Ferrara release as well. They put out the one starring Harvey Keitel, the
Bad
one from the
Lieutenant.
'90s starring Harvey Keitel, as well as uh, Madonna. Not Madonna. Yeah, Madonna. She was in it. Going all the way back to, I didn't realize Abel Ferrara also did a lot of acting in his career as well. Let's see. So, unfortunately, I'm scrolling through every single Abel Ferrara release. The Addiction is a good one for those of you who haven't seen it yet. Let's see. Dangerous Game. Dangerous Game. That's the one. They put out a Vinegar Syndrome release of that as well through Cinematograph. So that's why Abel Ferrara has kind of been in the consciousness recently because Cinematograph's put out two of his releases, and there's just been a lot of his stuff that's getting Miss 45, like we just mentioned.
Hmm.
I believe Driller Killer, I think it's put out by Blue Underground. That's an early '70s movie released from the '70s from him. That movie's kind of nuts. It's about a serial killer who uses a drill to kill people. Hence, it's in the title. But this release here, let's get back into the special features. Let's see. There's an audio commentary by co-screenwriter Chris Zoyce. New interview with director Abel Ferrara himself, with star Asia Argento. Wild and Woolly, an interview with star Willem Dafoe. That's new as well. Interview with critic Beatrice Loaza. And then there's a theatrical trailer, and that is it. Okay. Okay, so that is New Rose Hotel by Abel Ferrara. And then we have the Saragossa manuscript. Sorry. This is a 4K release. Now, this is by a director whose work I think I just talked about recently. Because he's such a trip of a movie. Now, let me go over to my Letterboxd here and check that out because this director is a very surreal director. and I didn't have quite the mental capacity in order to check out this director's other work right away.
Yeah,
See,
I'm unfamiliar with this director here. It looks
see
like
if my
a
letterbox would
Polish
load. That'd be
name.
so nice. I don't know what
Is
it
it
is.
a
It
Polish
Letterbox of
film?
all the websites I go to, Letterbox is the one that's the slowest for me in terms of loading.
It has
Maybe
been
my
slow lately.
yeah. I just thought maybe my browser was too old or something like that. Uh, but yeah, so Wojciech Haas is the director, and we talked about the movie The Hourglass Sanatorium from 1973. And that movie was a trip. And from what I understand, the Saragossa manuscript is similar in that regard. So I was like, I don't really feel like a mind bend right now. I may just put this off until I actually get the movie itself. But getting into it, it says at the height of the Napoleonic Wars, a Polish soldier seeks refuge in a deserted house in the Spanish town of Saragossa and discovers a mysterious manuscript written in a language he doesn't speak. When enemy Spanish officers arrive to arrest him, one of the soldiers realizes that the book appears to tell the story of his grandfather, Alphonse van Worden. Uh, and his surreal mystical adventures in the region several decades before. He starts to translate the text for the Polish soldier and so begins a time shifting, genre hopping Ouroboros-like epic narrative, one that blends the gothic, chaotic, and erotic, and in the process interrogates the very nature of storytelling itself. Championed by Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola, the Saragossa manuscript has grown in status since its initial release from a cult oddity to a film widely regarded as one of the greatest ever produced in Poland, and a work that cemented Wojciech as one of the European cinema's most visionary and idiosyncratic directors. That's a hell of a write up for this movie. You can't.
Yeah,
And the cover is literally a skull with like a is that a crown on it? It's
with people.
with people. Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Um, yeah, so that's pretty metal right there. Um, and this is let's see, just give people a sense of how many titles they put out. This is title 185. Yeah,
Hmm.
185 as I zoom in. And this is a yes, this movie sounds amazing. But yet again, it's a movie I think you have to really take your time with in terms of dissecting and getting into and really when it comes to preparing here for chasing labels. I'm like in a frenzy. I'm like trying to watch as many movies as I can before my brain melts. I go for broke every single time. I basically push
Wow.
myself to the limit of just completely burning out on movies to the
Hmm.
point where I have to take a day to just not watch movies anymore. Um, for like it just to recover. So adding this already to all the stuff I was watching would have just completely pushed me beyond my limits. But this movie sounds right up my alley. It sounds really good. If you've seen, the sanatorium films, you kind of understand the vibe this director is going with. Uh, and I'm excited to check this out just for that. Just the fact that anything Martin Scorsese recommends, I'm kind of down for. I know
Yeah.
right now people are kind of upset at him because he's investing in an AI company to do storyboarding and stuff. I kind of get it, uh, but I still take his word as gospel when it comes to movies. Like he knows movies pretty well. New 4K restoration from the original camera negative, presented in Dolby Vision HDR. This is a 4K release. 4K UHD and Blu-ray presentation of the feature is a world premiere on 4K. The Saragossa Myth, new visual essay on the cinema of Wojciech Haas, and the Saragossa manuscript by Polish film expert Michael Brook. Um, Saragossa archival making of documentary. On the let's see, there's, yeah, like I said, making of newly improved English subtitles and a reversible sleeve. There's a booklet in here as well, limited to 5,000 copies. Obviously, being a UHD, it's going to be region free. Also coming out September 14th as well. So I'm excited to check this out. I've got to spend this summer and really catch up on a lot of the Radiant stuff. So Corruption is actually a movie I did get to see. Finally, something I did get to watch, and this movie is fascinating. This movie reminds me of, I hate to bring this guy up, but we're gonna do it. The movie Knife in the Water. The movie Knife in the Water, which is the Polanski film, early Polanski film. They remade it. They remade the movie in the '90s called as Dead Calm, which is another movie that I don't think anybody's ever heard of. in Dead Calm. Knife in the Water, coincidentally, only has a DVD release from Criterion. I don't think they haven't upgraded that one yet. I don't know if they ever will, although they could. I guess they could. They've done with controversial people before. They'll probably do it again. Um, but it reminded me a lot of that because this movie is about a kind of battle of wills between two different people, and like one's older, one's younger, different set of how they view the world. And I thought about that a lot. And I was thinking of Knife in the Water. I was thinking about Dead Calm. Um, and so this movie is about a father and son. I believe the son, he graduates. I don't know if it's some type of boarding school. I can't tell if it's high school or college, but either way, he actually wants to become a priest. I think he wants to become like some type of priest, and his father is a very wealthy book publisher, and he wants his son to
Take over the
follow in
business.
his footsteps
Yeah.
and take over his company someday, work at his company now. And once the kid comes home and tells him, hey, I basically want to become a priest, the father is not happy about it. He's very contentious about it. He doesn't approve of this. And the young kid is a very like kind of young, sensitive, intelligent kid, reads books, all this kind of stuff. His father is a typical, old school type of patriarch. You know what I mean? Masculinity, money and wealth is kind of everything. Status in society is everything. It's something I think a lot of young people still deal with to this day when parents want their kids to go to college and study something to get a degree and make money, not
Yeah.
necessarily in a field that they have any passion or any love for. They want them to become something they want them to become something that makes money as opposed to something that makes them happy and makes them more fulfilled in life. That's still a battle that goes on to this day.
Hmm.
So he
Even
decides,
like the Scion type of thing where it's like following my footsteps or take over the business or whatever it's going to be.
yeah, something like that. So the father, in his infinite wisdom, I use that loosely, decides he's going to take his son on a boat trip, but he's going to bring along his young mistress in order to manipulate his son to abandon his son's path in life, if you will, through sexual means. Let's be real here. That's basically what the father decides to do. Not the most moralistic thing one could do to teach their son a life lesson, I would say. And That's kind of how the movie goes. But the movie has a lot of scenes where it is a discussion between the father and son about life and philosophy and the outlook on life and stuff of that like that. There's a lot of discussion between the young man and this young woman, their outlook on life and all this kind of stuff, talking about different philosophies and all kinds of stuff. Very intelligent movie on that type of scale. And the movie doesn't provide a lot of answers to what you like how you should live your life. It's not one of those preachy type of movies. If anything, it's a little pessimistic in that regard. But I found this movie to be incredibly intelligent. It's also incredibly short, which was nice. Movie's only, I think, about
Always nice.
yeah, this movie's not long at all. So it really gets to the point very, very quickly and doesn't overstay its welcome. And it's really, really good. It's from 1963. There's a 2K restoration of the movie. The movie is directed by Mauro Bolognini, and there's actually a whole like YouTube channel called like the films or movies of Mauro Bolognini, and it has like all of his movies on there, including this one. So I watched it on YouTube. Now I don't know how they were able to do that or what the licensing deal is with that, but it's on there to watch on YouTube currently as of right now, and you can check it out. But there's a new interview with critic and programmer Adrian Wooten on here as well. There's an archival interview with producer Alfredo Bini and Manolo Bolognini. Newly improved English subtitles and reversible sleeve art, and that's about it. But the movie itself is really, really good. Shot in black and white, came out in 1963, is an Italian film, and Radiance really loves to put out Italian films. So that's kind of become one of their things. Definitely I give a recommendation for that. And then we have the Inugami family. We have another movie here dealing with familial issues. So from what I understand, I'll just read this here. It's not that long. When wealthy patriarch of the Inugami dynasty dies, he leaves his fortune to Tamayo, a young woman from outside the family. That's going to create complications. There is one condition: she must marry one of his grandsons.
Bring
As
her
the
in the
family,
family.
yeah. There's always conditions, isn't that always with money? There's always conditions. Money's never free, people. You'll be paying for it one way or the other. As the family gather in the stately mansion to discuss the situation, grisly murders occur. When it comes to money, people will do anything. Detective Kosuke Kendachi arrives to investigate the case and uncovers the secret history of the family's bloodline. Directed by Kan Ichikawa. This is why this is important. Kan Ichikawa has directed some great movies. Fires on the Plain and also The Burmese Harp are two that just got released from Criterion, and they're both excellent. Um, so, for those of you who look for some blind buys for Criterion sale, I highly recommend those two Kan Ichikawa films. And this murder mystery was a massive hit in Japan that profoundly changed the Japanese film industry, infused with gothic atmosphere and featuring several now iconic scenes. The Inugami family has rarely seen outside as its home country, making it one of Japanese cinema's best kept secrets. I really wanted to see this movie, but it's a bit of a longer film. That's why I didn't have a chance to fit it in my watch schedule.
Hmm.
But I'm always into like family drama stuff and whatnot. It's very we talked about Shakespeare earlier. It's very Shakespearean. I mean, the whole King Lear thing is all. It reminds me of this, uh, and this is really good stuff. 4K restoration by the Kadokawa Pictures, original uncompressed mono audio, newly filmed interview with Aaron Gero on the film's impact in Japan, archival interview with Kanichikawa, that's 44 minutes long. Damn. Outtakes from Kanichikawa interviews, that's 8 minutes long, archival making of documentary, that's a half an hour long, archival interview with star Koji Ishizaka, that's 16 minutes long, archival documentary on the 4K restoration process, which is 12 minutes long. So this is a 4K release, meaning it should be, no, it's not a 4K release. It's a 4K restoration that they're putting on Blu-ray.
Restoration.
Sorry.
I will
And
say this.
yeah,
This one and the previous one, Corruption, must be important because they're both getting every other title is just UK. This is getting a North American and a UK release. So
mhm.
I think that those are the only two titles this month that's getting releases in both places.
So it makes them significant that they were able to get the distribution rights for both here in the US and in the UK. It also probably
Hmm.
means that nobody here had the rights to this, which is kind of odd. This
True.
feels like something Criterion would put out if they have other Kan Ichikawa films in the catalog already. I would have thought they would have scooped this one up too, but apparently not. So, anywho, um, that is it from Radiance. That is all the stuff they've got coming this September. I can't even think of September at this point. Summer just started. I can't think of fall. We have Joe. We have Treasures from the Golistan Film Studio, New Rose Hotel, the Saragossa manuscript. That's 4K release. We have Corruption, and we have the Inugami family. Uh, so that is it from Radiance. Now let's move on to. Oh boy, where do you want to go, KB? Any place specific that you want to go?
Let's go to Imprint and go through that quickly.
Okay, we shall. A couple, yeah. So, yeah, right off the bat here, we've got a few to go through here a little quickly.
Bundle.
We have two. I think these are 4K box release. No, two box set releases. We have Danger Diabolic, which is getting a limited edition 4K UHD Blu-ray hardbox and a hardcover booklet as well. And I don't have to go over this because this has already been released twice in the last year.
Mhm.
so once again, similar to what they've been doing with the Golden Princess Library. The Golden Princess Library. I got these bad boys right here. Hard Boiled, The Killer,
I got mine.
City on Fire, etc., etc. Imprint's putting out their versions of these. They're putting out their version of Danger Diabolic. Danger Diabolic has already been put out on 4K by Eureka recently, as of like this year, as well as Kino last year, and now they're getting Imprint's putting out their version of this. It's based on a French comic book from the 1960s. It's directed by Mario Bava of all
Hmm.
people, which is kind of nuts. And the movie is kind of a lot of fun, in my opinion. It's set around the character of um, Diabolic, and he is a, if I remember correctly, he's a burglar. He's like a bank robber burglar guy. And this movie's kind of around, like, it's kind of set around like police trying to capture him and stuff like that, but it's mostly set around his character. He's kind of like Bruce Wayne if Bruce Wayne didn't become Batman, but Bruce Wayne decided to become like a burglar instead. But he's not a bad guy. He just likes to rob like banks and stuff and steal like jewelry and stuff like that. If anything, it's kind of like a combination of Bruce Wayne and Catwoman and Selena Kyle. If I could use a DC Comics reference here. Um,
Yeah.
it's very much kind of like that. Like he's robbing from like rich, wealthy people. So it's kind of, you know, not too bad of a crime if you want to put it on some type of scale. But like I said, this is getting a big old deluxe edition from Imprint. Um, so I don't have much, not a lot to say about that. Also, I would have to. Also, they're putting out a double feature of Hercules and the Captive Woman, and Hercules in the Haunted World. Both of these movies are from the 1960s. There was a whole set of like Hercules movies that came out in the 1960s. Some of them have been lampooned via Mystery Science Theater 3000. Some of them I have like a cult following, if you will. I've never really got into them. I've watched a couple of them and whatnot over the years, but it's not really been my thing per se. Even though I
Yeah.
like the character of Hercules in mythology.
Yeah.
You know,
These British releases of the Italian movies, so it's basically upgrading them from old DVDs that we've had them in the past. So
yeah. Let's see if I can get. Yeah, 'cause the one thing with Imprint is you've got to go to the individual release in order to get any type of details about the release. As you can see here, tons of releases, tons of special features here. Um, it's a two disc set as well as a booklet, a hardcover booklet actually, for Danger Diabolic. Two audio commentaries. Tim Lucas has an audio commentary on here. Actually, he's got two audio commentaries on here, and bunch of special features. The video essay by Kat Ellinger as well. That's always really cool. I believe a lot of these special features carry over from the previous releases. Although, to me, I think Eureka probably has exclusive stuff. That seems to be their bag when it comes to a lot of these things. I would definitely recommend people to go do their own, comparing and contrasting with the different releases for these types of stuff. I know I'm going to as well. If you're a fan of Mario Bava, obviously you're a completist of Mario Bava, you want to check these out. The Hercules stuff, I'm curious how. Let's see. They have the complete. Let's see. I want to see what we're looking at in terms of special features. Let's see. Obviously, two discs. Yeah, new audio commentary, new interviews. That's about it for that. Oh yeah, the first one here has a new audio commentary with Troy Haworth and film historian Eugenio Ercolani. There's a 100-minute original Italian cut of the movie, but it's only in its standard definition form. But Hercules is a character from mythology that's been adapted so many
so many
times. I mean,
times.
even growing up as a little kid, we had Disney's Hercules in the 90s, which is still near and dear to my heart to this day. I think I have the Blu-ray of that. That's one that I don't think they've re-released that on 4K yet. They've
Mhm.
released other things on 4K. Disney has, but I don't think Disney's Hercules has. It was towards that later half of the 90s, which doesn't get as much love as the earlier half of the 90s in Disney's catalog, in my opinion. Um, but of course, there was Hercules. What was it? That television series that was done by Sam and Tim Raimi? Hercules: The Legendary Journeys with Kevin Sorbo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Kevin Sorbo now is a lunatic, crazy man that nobody cares about. The one good thing about that show is we ended up getting the spin-off, which was Xena Warrior Princess with Lucy Lawless, which is awesome. And even to this day, I see Lucy Lawless in certain things. She was in Ash vs. the Evil Dead TV series, which was great, which got unceremoniously canceled after 3 seasons. It ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, which is unfortunate. But Hercules has been around forever in mythology and stuff like that. So these are interesting kind of older 1960s versions of his various adventures. But let's check out their Imprint slate of releases, because these dropped and these have some interesting feature films in there. Let's go back to the beginning. I am not a big fan of Imprint's website. It's not the best navigatable site, in my opinion. There's just a lot. There's a lot going on here, and they don't lay it out really nicely. Okay, so
Start with you want to start from Downfall?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna start out with the best. So I do want to mention, so we've got the movie Downfall, Lore. I'll list them off and then we'll go into them. Saving Face, which just got a Criterion Blu-ray. The Princess and the Warrior, which is a Tom Tykwer film. This is the movie he did after Run Lola Run. That's a good movie.
Yeah,
I thought there were other ones here that I completely. No, yeah, Downfall, Lore,
Don't Come Knocking,
Saving Face. There's the hold on.
I think you skipped Don't Come
I probably
Knocking.
skipped one. Glad you. Yeah, there's this one. Don't Come Knocking, which is a Wim Wenders film.
Mm-hmm.
But let me go get into Downfall first. They have them listed here individually. Now, Downfall, KB, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this movie at least. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
I haven't, but it looks very, very good.
This movie came out in 2004. This is the famous movie that has Bruno Ganz as Adolf Hitler. This depicts the last 10 days of World War II, or the last 10 days of the Third Reich, the last 10 days of the European campaign of World War II, basically the fall of Nazi Germany in the last 10 days. This famously has that scene of Bruno Ganz as Hitler completely going insane and breaking down and just losing his mind against his like generals and stuff like that. That's been parodied many times. They've done overlays of different audio or different subtitles for that many times. I finally got to watch the movie itself because I've only ever seen it from like clips perspective. The movie is amazing. Like, this movie is astonishingly incredible. It's just the acting, the directing, the writing, the atmosphere within this film is astonishing. Like, in the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just stunned by the humanity that this movie brings out of these people who are, in my opinion, the whole Nazi ideology is the most subhuman thing ever. So it's like the movie doesn't try to make you empathize with the fall of Nazi Germany, but it puts you in the atmosphere, in the tense atmosphere of that situation, if you will. Like when, for example, I mean, this is historical fact. This is not
spoiler.
Spoiler alert for real life events that happened in 1945.
Somebody who slept through history class. Spoiler alert.
I famously say this. I have my degree in history, so I automatically default to like information.
Thinking everyone does.
Context. As Nazi Germany was falling, the waning days, Berlin was falling, a lot of the Nazi Germany high officials, including Adolf Hitler himself, committed suicide, and it's depicted in this movie. And you're watching it, and you're like, I don't feel bad for these people. These are Nazis. You know what I mean? I don't feel bad for them. But it's just a historical perspective. It's like people reaching that end is just a fascinating, like, anthropological perspective, if you will, or social, society, interesting thematic thing that's going on in this movie, where like they know at some core of them that if they don't take themselves out, the world is going to know the horrific things they've done, and they can't stomach it anymore. So they've got to like remove themselves from the world. And it's like, it really puts the ideology of Nazism into perspective of how really, truly horrific it is and cruel it is and how unhumane it is. I think the movie does a really good job of that. And also the filmmaking is just incredible in the film. The acting is incredible. I was really just gobsmacked by because I wasn't expecting this movie to show actual war scenes, like Saving Private Ryan war scenes of the streets of Berlin being bombed and soldiers fighting and stuff like that. I was expecting more of like people sitting in a room and talking about like battle plans, which is in there, but I wasn't expecting like large scale like warfare, World War II warfare battles happening.
Hmm.
But the movie is incredible, and to and the mere fact of how modern the movie is for a movie that came out 22 years ago at this point is really also just endlessly fascinating to me. But the movie Downfall, having seen it now for the first time, I understand why people highly praise it so much, because of how great it is. And I feel like it also did usher in a lot of these kind of modern international films like we've been discussing that are very highly acclaimed. This fits
Hmm.
right along with all of those as well. And this movie has been on Blu-ray before.
I was
Uh,
just gonna say that.
yeah,
Didn't they have a shout release?
it does have a shelf release, I think from 2018, if I
Hmm.
recall. And
So
it's
you could
always
get it
been
on
one that,
Bruce.
yeah, it's always been one that I've been thinking of getting.
It was on my
Um,
wish list for the longest time too.
yeah, it's relatively affordable nowadays because we kind of don't know. I mean, we do know. We kind of don't know, but we do know that Shout is kind of in limbo. They're still putting out stuff like their release of Dawn of the Dead, which is going to be kind of like one of the hot sellers of the year, just came out. But then like they'll also like they don't have a website anymore and they've got new ownership, and it's like what's going on over there in terms of like, are they going to continue to put out movies, are they not going to put out movies, what's going on? um all I know is that you can still get their catalog stuff that's in print that they still have licensed. um they're pretty affordable now. Like for example, Downfall Blu-ray, if you don't want to get this in print release, is like $17 on Amazon. Like it's affordable now.
Yeah.
um it's really interesting stuff. Um, and this release here, I think, has a lot more than that Shout Factory release because this is a newish release, and this is a super deluxe, like 3 disc edition. This is a 4K as well, so it's a bump
Hmm.
up in picture quality. So quickly going over, disc one has the theatrical cut. That's the 4K disc. It's got the movie in 4K. It's got an there's an audio commentary by Oliver Hirschspiegel. And then the disc two is the Blu-ray. That's just the theatrical cut. Audio commentary by the director himself, plus a bunch of special features. The documentary, Hitler's Final Days, the movie Downfall, shooting in Russia. Uh, there's all kinds of interviews here as well. And then the third disc is a Blu-ray of the extended cut, but only a standard definition presentation of the 178-minute extended cut on Blu-ray.
I
Now,
hate
the
when
movie
they do
itself is
that.
already not short. Not short. The movie
Yeah.
itself is already 155 minutes. So if I'm doing math here, that's another 23 minutes of footage added into this movie. And I don't know if it necessarily needed an extra 23 minutes, but because I feel like there comes a point in the movie where the inevitability of the end of the war is going to happen. If you're a history fan, you know it's over. And the movie kind of drags a little bit in that regard towards the end of its third act. But everything leading up to that is pretty fantastic. But damn. Yeah, so that is Downfall. Definitely the highlight of these releases. Now, Downfall could get a release here stateside. It could get a bump in for UK a 4K UHD from Shout. Shout has been doing that lately, where their Shout Select releases have been getting 4K upgrades. I mean, they just did that with the Jake Gyllenhaal movie, Nightcrawler. They just did
Yeah.
that, where they just put out a 4K of that, and I think they had put out a Blu-ray recently of that. I could be wrong. I know recently. I mean, this isn't a bump up. This isn't a bump up in quality. Well, it is, but it's not from them directly. I just got their Flintstones 4K release. Nostalgic from my childhood. I talked about this back in
The
1994 when this
Stone
came
Book.
out. Yeah, the Stone, what the 4K Stone Book. What is interesting, I just started following on social media the producer of this release,
Oh,
who
okay.
I guess he no longer is a producer over at Shot Factory after the whole changing of the guard in terms of ownership of the company. But I guess one of the last things that he did was get this greenlit. Apparently, was work on this.
That's so cool.
Um, but back in '94, I was 7 years old when this came out, and I saw it in the theater when I was 7 years old. So it's a bit of a nostalgic trip for me. Ironically, I've never owned it. I've never had it on VHS, never had it on DVD, never had the Blu-ray from Universal. Um, Like I said, yeah, I think it was Universal. So I decided to pick this up. My local Walmart doesn't get much in the way of new stuff. I'll tell you that. And but they got this. They got 2 copies of this and 2 copies of Top Gun, the 4K Steelbook as well. So while I was there, I picked that up. Um, so that's my recent Shout Factory release. But this movie, Downfall, like I said, could get a 4K Shout Factory re-release. Who knows? But moving on from there, moving on from Downfall, let's move on to something else. As soon as I get back to where I was supposed to be. Yeah, I clicked on the wrong. That's the one thing with I'm still doing the double screen thing. Sometimes I click on the other screen. I'm supposed to click on this screen. But The Princess and the Warrior. Let me talk about this because I watched this either last night or the night before. I think I did. Yeah, I actually did. I think I did end up renting this for like $3 or $4 on Amazon. And this is Tom Tykwer's film. Now, Tom Tykwer may be a director many of you are not familiar with, but he directed the movie Run Lola Run. Run Lola Run is a great movie. They're starring Franca Potente. Franca Potente is also in this film. Franca Potente was also, I think, in the year after this, was in Born Identity with Matt Damon. That's where I first discovered. That was an early DVD buy from me back in the early 2000s. Was the Born Identity movie, and that's where I first discovered Franca Potente. But Run Lola Run is excellent. This movie is not quite Run Lola Run. I was actually surprised about how many people do not like this movie on Letterboxd. I don't know if this happens to you, KB. I'll go on there and be like, "Oh, I really like this movie," and then I'll see people I follow rate it like 1 star, and I'm like, "Damn, what did I miss?"
I will say this. I watched a trailer for this and I was like, man, this is like screaming like early 2000s movies. And I didn't pick up on the writer director during the trailer. I picked up on the star from Run Lola Run. And I was like, man, this is just like, this could be like, I want to make a 2000 trailer. And then I looked at the year, I was like, it is actually from the year 2000. So
Yeah,
on point, on
that
point.
that would make a lot of sense considering the year it came out. It's yeah, it's right in that range. Because it's right on too. Because Run Lola Run, I think must have been like 1998 or 1997, somewhere around there. And that movie's gotten a Blu-ray release. That movie actually has a 4K release, but it's
I love it.
only available in that Sony. Is it? Oh God, is it
Sony
Sony Pictures
International
Classics?
Pictures. Yeah. I
Yeah.
got it up there.
Oh, you
The
have the
Sony
box
Picture
set. Nice.
Classic. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. What's interesting is I have like all of those movies already on Blu-ray, so I never bought that box set to upgrade all of them. But I've always had a little regret because some of those titles you can only get the 4K in that box set, and Run
hmm
Lola Run is one of them where they haven't released them individually yet. Um, and so that's unfortunate. But like I said, if you want some good '90s indie stuff, that's not U.S. Hollywood made, Run Lola Run is definitely one that I highly recommend. But if you're
Me
also
too.
interested, in, hey, I like Run Lola Run. What else did this director do? Well, he did The Princess and the Warrior right afterward. So this movie, it says the paths of Sissy, an aloof psychiatric nurse, and Bodo, an anguished ex-soldier, cross when a freak accident pins Sissy under a truck, and Bodo saves her life before disappearing. Described by Variety as an eminently stylish and visually striking, this is a hypnotic modern fairy tale that will stay with you long after the credits roll. Okay, kind of. It is. There are surreal elements to it. So what this doesn't tell you here is that Sissy is a nurse in a psychiatric hospital, psychiatric ward, and she gets and then Bodo is this guy who is an ex-soldier and he's kind of got PTSD and he's dealing with not PTSD specifically from being a soldier, but PTSD from a tragedy that happened in his life, a trauma that happened in his life, and he's never really moved past it. He's never gotten past that moment. And he ends up meeting her one day as she's trapped underneath a truck, a big old truck that hits her, and she is apparently especially dying. And he performs a tracheotomy on her and keeps her alive until getting her to help. And she then proceeds to try to track him down, and they have this interesting relationship where she owes her life to him, but he doesn't really have. he doesn't have this ability in him to connect with humanity anymore because of the tragedy that happened in his life. He's walled off to human emotions. He's walled off to connecting with other people other than his brother. That's kind of the only person he has an emotional connection with. And the movie kind of goes from there. I don't want to say what else happens, but I really like the movie on that thematic level. Like I really connected with it on that thematic level. I don't know. Franca Potente is really I find to be a really enchanting actress. I think she's really really good and captivating in this movie. And there are some surreal moments about dealing with trauma, dealing with past moments in your life that can very much make you be in a state of arrested development, and you don't move past it. And I feel like mental health issues are something that's more pronounced now in society. It's being talked about more in movies and television and real life and all this kind of stuff. And it's more open now than it was, 26 years ago when this movie came out. So I really liked it for that regard. But some people on Letterboxd think this movie's terrible. Like I'm talking
Hmm.
half-star ratings, and I'm like, you guys got to watch some more movies.
I just looked. It's averaging like a 3.6, so it's not that bad. Maybe when you
Nah,
watched it, but I don't
maybe
know.
some people that I follow just weren't connecting with it at all. And it is really tough in the way in which it deals with mental health. Perhaps may not be the most modern, because again, like I said, it is a movie that's 26 years ago. People treated mental health a lot differently than they treat it now in terms of depicting it in movies and things like that. So obviously there may be some dated aspects to it, even though it is a movie technically from the 21st century. Um, yeah, it's really really good stuff. Um, there is. Let me see what else Tom Tykwer did because I know he he's been working in pretty steadily throughout the last 20 some odd years or so.
We have Cloud Atlas.
Oh yeah, he was a co-director of Cloud Atlas along with the Wachowskis. An
Hmm.
underrated Wachowskis film, in my opinion, Cloud Atlas. Um, the book is kind of unadaptable, so I was shocked that they actually were like, let's adapt this. So
Yeah.
yes,
The only other thing would be a segment in Paris, I Love You.
yes, he did a segment in Paris, I Love You, which is I really like that anthology film a lot. A lot of big time names in there, that are probably relatively well known to people who worked on that movie. Let's see, why? And I'll move on his IMDb, and for some reason it cuts off at writer, producer, and no, there's director. Okay, yeah. Let's see if there's anything else here that No, not really. No. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Parachute Time is probably the only thing. And The International, which is a movie from 2009 that I don't think anybody remembers. That was the movie starring Clive Owen. It was like an action movie from 2009. That was right during the time where Clive Owen was becoming this big time action star, if you will. Of course, Troy would come out a few years. No, that's Eric. That's Eric Bana. I always get Eric Bana and Clive Owen confused. Don't ask me why,
Interesting.
because they both came up at the same time, and they
Hmm.
both were similar type of leading men that were in similar types of movies. But Clive Owen was in this movie called The International. I remember when this movie came out, directed by Tom Tykwer. But let's move on to something else because this movie actually, I don't think there's anything here in terms of special features. No, no special features whatsoever. That's a shame. Let's move on to so Saving Face. I don't really have to talk about because I talked about it a bunch when the Criterion was released. Grab the Criterion if you haven't already. I know. I think I have it. I believe I have it. Lore. I do want to mention this movie. Kind of goes along with Downfall, takes place at the very end of World War II and even over the end of World War II. This movie came out in 2012, directed by Kate Shortland. Now, that's somebody that you probably, I don't know, clicking on random stuff now. That's someone who you probably aren't familiar with, but many of you have probably seen the movie, um, uh, saw the MCU movie with Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow. She was the
Yeah.
director of the Black Widow MCU movie. Kate Shortland was. So if you've seen that movie, you've seen a Kate Shortland film. But this is one obviously she did before that, and this is a movie called Lore about a character named Lore, and this is let's see. After being abandoned by their Nazi parents, five German siblings embark on a harrowing journey across their war-torn country, led by the eldest, 14-year-old Lore. The children are forced to confront their parents' actions and the reality of a new world. So, interestingly, somewhat far-fetched plot going on here, where this young 14-year-old girl has to take her and her 4 siblings across Germany to their grandmother's house because the parents abandoned them. The father is basically a Nazi war criminal that gives himself up, and and then the mother also gives herself up as well because she believes that she's going to be arrested anyway. Instead of just escorting her children across to their grandmother's house, she decides, hey, I'm going to give my daughter some money and all of my jewelry and have her escort them over the country to the grandmother's house. So the premise of it is a little bit like, come on, really? Come on, really? But putting that aside here, you do get a harrowing story of this young girl trying to survive along with her really young siblings, including like a newborn baby, carrying and having to take care of across war-torn Germany at the end of World War II. And that's the movie. Um, uh, yeah, it kind of just goes through like different trials and tribulations along the way. And do they make it? That'll be up to you if you indeed watch the movie. But like I said, kind of in the similar vein to Downfall, takes place at the end of World War II, dealing with the consequences of that war and whatnot. It's based on a novel called The Dark Room, um, which the film won 4 awards at the Stockholm International Film Festival, including the Bronze Horse Award for Best Film. Let's see, for special features, we have a making of lore featurette, deleted scenes, alternate ending, and that's it. And that is it. So that's the movie lore. And then we're going to be getting into, let's see. Now they're just messing around here. Now, why do they skip things on me? Let's see.
Well, you have saving face.
Yeah. So they announced this, I think, today or earlier. So I'm just going to mention it without really getting into it because I didn't put it on my notes list anyway. So Suspiria, not the one from the 70s, the one that was directed by Luca Guadagnino, the remake. They're upgrading their Blu-ray to a new 4K edition. So that's pretty exciting. If you're a fan of that movie, I have the US Blu-ray release. I'm looking right at it. Of that. Ironically, as I talked about Luca Guadagnino recently, because I talked about his movie Queer on the recent Unwatched pile. And so that's kind of, he's been on my mind recently. He's also been putting out a lot of movies lately as well too. Also, I've been seeing Timothy Chalamet in every Knicks basketball game recently. So I was like, it always makes me think of Call Me by Your Name and the movie Bones and All. Bones and All I still have to get. That's another Shout Factory like 4K that bounces up and down in price on Amazon. Like some days it's like $18, some days it's 25, some days it's like $15. It bounces all around.
You gotta put a camel price watch on it.
Yes.
If you know about that.
Yes, I gotta do it. But I always end up like every day. My first priority, like every day when I wake up, is to check to see if there's been any price changes on things that I'm looking at. Like that's like my daily ritual of things. I get hyper focused and go to like Blu-ray.com, go to my Amazon, save to later section, check on prices, do my due diligence and all that kind of stuff. It's like a process. But Bones and All is one of them that I've really been wanting to get. But like I said, I've been seeing Timothy Chalamet a lot lately because of the Knicks games. I just bought Marty Supreme, the A24 4K release. So he's been on my mind, and of course he's worked with Luca Guadagnino. This is the movie that does not have Timothy Chalamet. It has Dakota Johnson in one of her best roles. I know sometimes Dakota Johnson is not the best in some of the movies she's in. I'm thinking of Madam Web. That movie overall is not good.
And neither is she.
Yeah, but then there are some movies where she's fantastic in. Like she's great in Suspiria. She's great in this indie movie called Cha Cha Real Smooth.
Yeah,
she's great in
I remember that. It was on streaming.
Yeah. But then there's other movies where like she just kind of phones it in a bit. It's kind of, I guess it all depends on how passionate you are and how good the material is. Ironically, she was in the movie Material. Was it Materialist? Which is an A24 film. I thought she was good in that. Ironically so. But this movie, Suspiria, is getting a 4K upgrade from the Blu-ray release that Imprint had already put out. I know that was announced recently, not in our notes, but definitely something to mention. We talked about Danger Diabolik, Saving Face. I don't want to talk about. I do want to talk about so Species 1 and 2. Species has been released many times, but this is a 4K UHD release of Species 1 and 2. There are other Species movies. There's like 3 and 4, I think. They're like straight to video movies. They're not good at all. I had to watch them some years ago because there was a whole box set of these that were put out. But if you've
I
seen,
remember that.
yeah, if you've seen Species, that's the one that people tend to really go back to and reference the most. Um, yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. And Ben Kingsley's in it, Natasha Henstridge is in it, Alfred Molina, Forrest Whitaker. Species 2 is not as good as the first one, but I guess if you're interested in horror sequels, you'll check it out. But this limited edition release is loaded with stuff. You'll get, it looks like two posters, one for each film. And these are the big 27 by 40, one sheet posters. These aren't like the small mini ones. You get a reproduction of the original press kit from 95 for Species, from 98 for Species 2, lobby cards for both films. There's a large hardcover photo book featuring stills from both movies. There's art cards as well. Yeah, there's a 3D lenticular hard case that houses all 5 discs of the movie. As you can see here, there's the plastic covering that goes over it.
That's cool.
But yeah, that is really cool. So disc 1 has got the movie Species on 4K. Disc 2, it looks like it has the movie plus special features. There's an audio commentary. This is all like standard stuff, like with the actors and directors and whatnot. And then disc 3 is more bonus features, which whole bunch of stuff. And then it looks like the Species 2 has its 4K disc as well as a Blu-ray disc. And yeah, that's a 5 disc set. Imprint does put a lot into these big old collectors 4K editions. So moving on from there, I do want to talk about the Wim Wenders film because I love Wim Wenders. He's one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. To me, I think Wings of Desire is one of the greatest films ever made. That movie had a profound effect on me. I've said it many times because I watched that movie pretty much not knowing what it was. And at the time, this was like 2011, I was not knowing what international movies really were. And I didn't know anything. I was young and naive and dumb. And that movie completely blew my mind. To this day, it's still just astonishing to me. Talk about Bruno Gans. In Downfall, Bruno Gans plays an angel in Wings of Desire. And the whole first half of that movie, he's just going around Berlin and listening to the inner thoughts of humanity and just the everything from happiness to great despair and his inability to connect with the human world in any way because he's an angel. He can't really do anything to help these people. He's kind of on the outside looking in. And then the second half of the movie is about him becoming human and discovering love, and which is one of the greatest human emotions. But Wim Wenders for me, by that point, I then went and saw Paris, Texas, and that movie blew my mind as well. And then since then, of course, I've been a big fan of his, The American Friend, as well as his Road trilogy, which one of his movies he's taking out of rotation. Actually, I think it's Wrong Move. He's taking out of rotation. So if you have that box set, I think that movie's going to be kind of out of print, I guess, from now on. But he's done other movies as well. His movie Pina, which is a ballet kind of dance movie in 3D, is incredible. But he did this movie called Don't Come Knocking, and let me get the details on this. This movie is written and starring Sam Shepard.
Yeah,
Sam Shepard. So the award-winning team behind Paris, Texas, director Wim Wenders and writer Sam Shepard, reunited in 2005 for Don't Come Knocking, a charming contemporary Western road movie. Howard Spence has seen better days. Once a big Western star, he now drowns his disgust for his selfish and failed life with alcohol, drugs, and women. When an existential crisis sees him abandon his current project, he begins a journey to confront his past, tracking down his estranged mother, a former lover, and the children he never knew he had. Starring Sam Shepard, Tim Roth, Jessica Lange, Don't Come Knocking is a powerful portrait of a lost man finding himself, filled with incredible cinematography and powerful performances. Eva Marie Saint plays his mother in the film, and what I assume is one of Eva Marie Saint's last films that she was ever in. She's still
You
alive,
would think
actually, as
so.
of this recording. She's 101 years old, I believe.
Get out
And
of here.
yeah, yeah, Eva Marie Saint, who of course was in Hitchcock films. Eva Marie Saint, I think her first film ever was On the Waterfront. I think that's her first movie. Um, and yeah, this movie here is really good. I really liked it a lot. It's not quite as profound as Paris, Texas. It's going for it, but doesn't quite achieve that level of profoundness, in my opinion. And it just comes short of it. And I don't know particularly why. I think there's more ambiguity in the movie than I thought there would be. Yeah, Jessica Lange plays a former lover of Sam Shepard, whom he ends up tracking down in Montana. He's a Sam Shepard plays this Western movie star he basically runs away from a movie set that he's making a movie on. And the director who's playing the director in the movie is George Kennedy, one of my favorites. George Kennedy, of course, was in Cool Hand Luke. I think he was like, yeah, he's in. I know him from Cool Hand Luke, but he was a great character actor. He won an Oscar, I think, for Cool Hand Luke. He's one of the prisoners in that who befriends Paul Newman, and oh, I love that movie so much. And he's in this film, and Tim Roth is hired as a guy. He's kind of hired by the studio to track him down and bring him back. That's kind of his character, but he's a little oddball of a character, if you will, which Tim Roth kind of relishes those types of oddball roles. And yeah, it's really good. I forgot who plays a kind of rather ambiguous character in here. What's her name? Fairuza Balk is in the film. Gabriel Mann is an actor I don't think many people are aware of. Why is she not even on the IMDb list? Well, she doesn't act so much anymore. She is a director now. I'm gonna have to look at the rest of this IMDb to figure this out. Um, what's interesting is IMDb's credits are weird. Like it won't list people who are like prominently in a movie. Though,
Hmm.
Sarah Polley, that's who it is. Sarah Polley, who at the time um, was an actress, and she's transitioned over to being a director. And I think most recently she was in an episode of The Studio, the Apple TV Plus series. The you know that's Seth Rogen is in, and Seth Rogen I think goes to a set. And Sarah Polley is the director on the set of the movie that he goes and visits because he's like the head of the studio, and she's there. And it's like the first time she's acted in a while. I think it's the first time she's acted in like 15 years. But I remember her being in many movies, and she's directed a few movies here and there. Stories We Tell was a documentary she did, I think, about her father from 2012. She
Yeah.
directed the movie Take This Waltz, which is a super underrated indie film from 2011, which stars Michelle Williams as well as Seth Rogen. There's the connection there. Super great indie film. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely recommend Take This Waltz. Um, great film. But this movie here, let's see what we got for special features, shall we? Let's see. Um, Absolutely nothing. What a damn shame. So, wow, what a build up for nothing. Damn. A Vim Vendors movie with no special features breaks my heart. Jeez. Couldn't even get him to talk about it. Like, give him an interview. Something,
You'd
anything.
be
He's
surprised.
around. He doesn't want to talk about the movie. I understand. You got to pay to do the special feature. You got to track him down. He's working on stuff, whatever. But that is Don't Come Knocking. Um, and that is probably if yeah, that's it for Imprint because the rest is they have like they're doing the complete animation series of the Adventures of Tintin, which is really cool, but obviously not really movie related. So that is it from Imprint. Let's see, where could we go now? Oh, let's go over to Flickr Alley because this is a quick one to do. Um,
Yeah.
Howard Hughes in Hollywood Volume 1, so that leads me to believe that maybe a Volume 2. And these are late 1920s silent films that were produced by Howard Hughes, directed by Louis Milestone. Louis Milestone is probably most well known for directing the movie All Quiet on the Western Front, which was a Best Picture winner. KB, it's got to be on one of your Best Picture winner collection, perhaps.
Uh, is No, it's not in this stack, so I already have it. They're all at the bottom
I
there.
gotcha. But it's got to be in there somewhere, I'm
Oh
assuming.
yeah, it's in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. It's from because it came out in 1930. It may have been, I want to say, the first or second sound film that won Best Picture, because the only silent film that won Best Picture is the movie Wings.
Hmm.
Uh, so and so and which has been available actually on Blu-ray for quite a while. But anywho, All Quiet on the Western Front is probably Louis Milestone's most well-known directed film. That movie still holds up to this day. They still show it in film schools and history classes and literature classes because it's based on a book actually called All Quiet on the Western Front. A little appropriate there. I had to read it in college at one point. I don't know if I read it. I don't remember.
They're like, I should read this.
Yeah, I
They
know I
expected
have
me
it,
to read this. I'm not reading
but
this.
man, for young people out there, going to college in the mid 2000s, they expect you to read that book in a week. Like there was no take your sweet time reading stuff. You had to read things very very quickly and be able to talk about them and write about them. College was all about reading and writing, at least from my perspective as a history major and and other stuff. But anywho, All Quiet on the Western Front. But before then, Louis Milestone, of course, was working, and he made these two movies. And these two movies are Two Arabian Nights and The Racket. And The Racket is currently streaming on Tubi. I watched it last night. The Two Arabian Nights is streaming, but it's on streaming on some other kind of public domain type of site. This is a 2-disc Blu-ray edition. It says Flicker Alley and the University of Nevada, Las Vegas proudly announced Howard Hughes in Hollywood, the first volume of a planned 2-volume series. Okay, so there will be another one that spotlights for the first time ever early works by the mogul turned Hollywood hitmaker. This set includes Two Arabian Nights, restored by the Academy Film Archive, and The Racket, newly restored by Flicker Alley. Both include new bonus features and are available for the first time on home video in any format. That's kind of amazing. I'm always happy to see silent films get any release, Blu-ray, 4K, DVD, just put them out there. Just 20 years old when he arrived in Los Angeles, Hughes left a mark on the filmmaking industry through sheer determination, although his two earliest forays into the producing remain lost. His first two hits, Two Arabian Nights and The Racket, survived thanks to the efforts of Dr. Hart Wegner, founding faculty of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas Film Studies program, who was instrumental in acquiring the extensive Howard Hughes motion picture papers and film materials for UNLV. Ironically, that's where you find a lot of the materials for movies. They will be in archives at universities all across the world.
Hmm.
I think many of us are familiar with the UCLA Film and Television Archive, but there are a lot of archives all across the world at various universities that probably don't even know what they have. You know what I mean? Or sometimes they do have them logged in some way, shape, or form. Museums will have film prints of things. Certain private collectors will have film prints of things, and they may not even know what they have. And sometimes, I've mentioned this many times, there will be film canisters you'll find in people's attics, in people's barns, and
Hmm.
all over the place that have these lost treasures of movies. If you are familiar with the documentary by These Amazing Shadows, it talks all about the film preservation and film restoration, the National Film Archive, all that kind of stuff. Gets into like how 70% of the silent era is just completely gone because they
Yep.
didn't save any of them, or they were lost in fires, or they're just went away, disappeared. It's incredibly sad. So the fact they were able to find these movies is kind of a modern miracle for cinema. So I'm always into these types of things. I'm a big fan of the history of cinema and archiving and film preservation and stuff like that. These are two movies definitely worth a watch just for their historical perspective in general. Howard Hughes was an interesting character in and of himself. If you've seen the Martin Scorsese movie The Aviator, you've gotten a taste of his eccentricities. A super rich guy who had a lot of mental issues, if you will. He would go on to buy and run the RKO Studios, which was a legendary kind of golden age studio that I think kind of disappeared after a while, if you will. But they were one of the big time players. I mean, they released Citizen Kane back in 1941, as well as I think Rebecca by Alfred Hitchcock. I think that was an RKO picture, perhaps. Um, but either way, RKO was a big one. I always loved the RKO studio logo, which is the antenna with the wire, the radio waves blinking off
Hmm.
the antenna. I've always wanted a RKO T-shirt of all the studio. That was the one I wanted. I want the most. Haven't been able to track one of those down yet. I have to keep looking. Um, but these two films are. Let me just read some stuff here. Based on a then recent pulpy adventure serial, Two Arabian Nights was reimagined as a comedy of male bonding, with director Louis Milestone at the helm and William Boyd and Louis Walheim headlining as the two pair, as the title pair. The story follows two American soldiers captured by German forces and sent to a prison camp, escaping to Arabia, where they meet and compete for the affection of a lovely woman named Mirza, portrayed by Mary Astor, a definitely a well-known figure of the silent film era, who has her own reasons for wanting to go on the run. Two Arabian Nights, which went on to win Best Directing for Milestone at the first Academy Awards, is presented in the stunning restoration by the Academy Film Archive and features a triumphant orchestral score performed by Robert Israel Orchestra. Then the following movie, The Racket, ripped from the headlines proto-noir, showcasing a new type of cinema, gangster Italian Americans, and the big city political corruption that empowered them. Thomas McGowan stars as James McQuigg, an honest cop trapped in a barrel of bad apples. He's pitted against Louis Walheim as Nick Scazzi. Modeled on famed Chicago gangster Al Capone, Louis Milestone once again helms the directing, with veteran cinematographer Tony Gaudio photographing the action, with a nomination for Outstanding Picture at the very first Academy Award ceremony, and largely unseen for nearly a century. The Racket offers a choice of two brilliant orchestral scores, one by Neil Brand and one by Robert Israel. And let's get to the special features. There's an audio commentaries, I believe, for both films. Yeah, it looks like historian Harlow Robinson, author of Louis Milestone Life and Films, discusses Two Arabian Nights, while critics Farron Smith and Emmy and Glenn Kenny together discuss The Racket. Rare outtakes from The Racket. 44 minutes of outtakes. Where do they find that? Howard Hughes in Hollywood, which looks like a little bit of a documentary about Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes in the first Academy Awards. Hart Wagner Remembrances, a look at the UNLV Film Department's founding faculty member. Image gallery, souvenir booklet, reversible cover artwork, Blu-ray, authoring by David Mackenzie of Fidelity and Motion. This is it's all region, so region free. Yeah, this is definitely one for the history books, literally. So I definitely want to check this one out when it comes out. Actually, it's already available to order or pre-order. Sorry. Yeah, coming out July 14th. July 14th. Okay, now let me go over and consult. Actually, no, I have one more tab here. Let's do it. So I guess I'll make the executive decision to go talk about the Curzon release. And we don't talk a lot about Curzon here, typically because they don't put out things on a typical regular basis. Also, they love to put out these gigantic box sets of
Yeah.
directors. Love it.
Yeah.
That is their bag. They just put out a Michael Haneke release as well. They put out, I think, a Lars von Trier release too. I think they coincidentally, we just talked about Wim Wenders. I think they put out a Wim Wenders box set too. But they are putting out one for Bela Tarr. Bela Tarr, who just recently passed away, the Hungarian director. I haven't seen a lot of Bela Tarr films. KB, are you familiar with his work?
Not at all.
I know the only one I know is the one that Criterion just put out recently. I think it was the Verkmeyer Memories or something like that. I'm completely butchering it. Let me see if it's actually in the set. Yeah, Verkmeister Harmonies, I think, is the only one I've seen, and that's because Criterion just put it out, and they and it was a beautiful like masterwork of a movie. So once I kind of understood what type of director Bela Tarr is and started learning more about him, I want to get into his work, but I can't just dive right in. I need to hit him at the right time. To me, I have certain directors that are so overwhelming to me that I need to like ease my way into them. Tarkovsky for me was one of those guys where I just like I can't just dive right in. Or else I'm gonna get swallowed up and completely overtaken. But over time, I've been consuming, slowly consuming their work, and I feel like that's the way I'm going to be with Bellatar. Now I know his movie Satan Tango, which is a long masterwork of a movie, has gotten a Blu-ray release here in the U.S. by Arbalos Films. I believe they put out a release of that, and I believe it's included in this set as well. Yes, it is Satan Tango, which is a very long movie. But let's just quickly go over the movies that are in this set. I haven't gotten to see, like I said, the only one I've seen is the Verkmeyer Harmonies. The Verkmeister Harmonies, sorry. So I'll just read this here. Behold the profound and melancholic works of Hungarian maestro Bellatar with his comprehensive 8-disc Blu-ray collection of his complete filmography. This limited edition set also features posters, an extensive booklet, and new artwork by Paul West. From his roots in the social realism of Hungary's communist era to his later masterpieces like Satan Tango, Verkmeister Harmonies, and The Turin Horse, Tar has cemented his legacy as the dark magus of European slow cinema. Like I said, his movies are very slow, melancholic, long films. You got to take your time with these bad boys. Digipack and hardcover slipcase in a canvas Curzon collection slipcase. 4 collectible posters, including new artworks by Paul West. 68-page book, including new essays from Kelly Powell, Ian Hayden Smith, and Nadine May, plus an interview with artist Paul West. And the movies are Family Nest from 1979, The Outsider from 1981, The Prefab People from 1982, Macbeth from 1982, only in standard definition, as well as The Prefab Peoples, only in standard edition as well. Autumn Almanac from 1984, Damnation from 1988, Satan Tango from 1994, Verkmeister Harmonies from 2000, from a new 4K restoration, The Man from London from 2007, and The Turin Horse from 2011. Coming from Curzon. Now, Curzon typically only puts out Region B releases, so I'm leading to believe that this is only going to be a Region B locked release. That would be my guess. Considering that the Verkmeister Harmonies already has a Criterion release, this has got to be a Region B release. For special features, it looks like quite a few short films actually. Bellatar in conversation with Howard Feinstein, plus trailers and interviews with Bellatar and various other people whose names I cannot pronounce. So that is it from Curzon there in this Bellatar box set. I'm going to check. I believe we have a few other things we want to go over. Let me see. I know there was at least one from the BFI.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We've done Imprint. I'm looking at my notes here. We've done Warner Archive. We've done Radiance. We've done. Oh, okay. So Severin has a couple of announcements from that. That's going to be titles from their upcoming Severin sale at the end of this month. Kino has one, the BFI, and then Second Sight, and that'll be it. So let me go over to Severin's Facebook page, because Severin will have their announcements there. And Severin, speaking of which, Imprint's got their July bundle already going. So let's go over to Severin Films, and I'll scroll down to, because they're putting out The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which is a modern horror film that people tend to like.
I like that one.
Let's see. Actually, their newest one.
What was it? The Canadian one, Raven.
I
have that one.
Let's see.
Raven
actually,
Banner. That's it. Yeah.
There they are right there. So these are the four. I guess, let me see. Let me go see. I know they announced them individually. There's the Manitou, which stars Tony Curtis, actually, which is nuts to me. There's this box set that they did. I want to get down to the individual one. Let me get to The Autopsy of Jane Doe. There's the Metamorphosis. That's a crazy cover.
I saw that on X, and I was like, ooh, it's crazy.
Yeah. So here we go. So there's Severin Summer Sale 2026 title number 1. So they slowly reveal these over time. It's a worldwide UHD premiere of The Autopsy of Jane Doe. In his English language debut, award-winning director Andre Ouverde, who did Troll Hunter and The Last Voyage of the Demeter, unleash an intensely frightening, um, let's see, excise in pure terror, now laid out and sliced open in the UHD for the first time ever. When the body of an unidentified young woman is discovered at the scene of a mass slaughter, it is sent to the local coroner, who is portrayed by Brian Cox, and his son, who's portrayed by Emil Hirsch, for surgical post-mortem. But this corpse will reveal chilling secrets. The mortuary itself will pulse with malevolence, and as their autopsy cuts deeper, an unstoppable evil will rise. And that's basically the premise of the movie. They get this mysterious Jane Doe body, unidentifiable. It's not in any database. They can't run any fingerprints on it, I guess, or dental records or anything like that. It was just at the scene of a murder crime scene. So the cops bring it over to the mortuary, and they're gonna do an autopsy on it and see what's cooking. And needless to say, they find things they weren't expecting, and that's kind of how the movie goes. I remember when this movie came out, because this came out in 2016, actually, so not that long ago. And yeah, it's a fun kind of modern horror that I know a lot of people tend to really, really like. It's got, first disc is a UHD disc, second disc is the Blu-ray with the movie and special features. There's an interview with the director, interview with Emil Hirsch, interview with actress Olwen Catherine Kelly. I think she plays the Jane Doe corpse, actually.
Yeah.
Interview with co-writer Ian Goldberg, post-mortem procedure interview with co-writer Richard Nang and producers Fred Berger and Eric Garcia. Tools of the trade, on-set interview with actor Emil Hirsch, on-set interview with actor Brian Cox, on-set interview with the actress Ophelia Lovibond, on-set interview with producer Ben Pugh, and then trailers. Movie, I think it seemed, if it's UHD, it's region free. Region A, B, and C. So that is the first of the Seven Summer Sale, which I think we'll get to here eventually. We have Metamorphosis, which is reveal number 2. Now I did not get to see this, so we'll just roll through it. A Severin first. Apply your own title treatment to the front of the slipcover. Apparently they're doing something interesting, including the one where legally forbidden from revealing hair from the 2 provided reusable / interchangeable vinyl cling. So Severin always does these interesting things with their, like, they always have a lot of extra swag with their releases, like t-shirts and mugs and figurines and patches and buttons and all kinds of cool stuff. And they're trying something else here with designing your own cover. But when director and actor Luigi Montefiore passed away in 2026, the world lost one of the most fascinating figures in Italian exploitation cinema. Now his sole directorial feature, produced by Joe D'Amato and shot in Virginia, is presented in UHD for the first time. Deep within a university laboratory, a brilliant professor is conducting unauthorized experiments in genetics engineering, but will his growing obsession with creating a new life form lead to the most horrific transformation of all? Who knows? I guess we'll have to watch and see. But this movie is a 2-discer like the last one, UHD plus special features on the first disc. Well, it's just a trailer. Disc 2 has got the movie, plus it was supposed to be a different movie, interview with writer-director Luigi Montefiore. Caught in the Crossfire, interview with the cinematographer. Tale of Love and Hate, interview with the producer. These guys all have pseudonyms, apparently. Whatever Happened to the Monster, interview with makeup artist. And then that's it. But scrolling on up, I want to get to, hopefully I get to the post where they talk about when the sale actually is. I know it's towards the end of this month. Ironically, I think the Severance sale and the Criterion sale may overlap with one another. That could happen. It wouldn't be the first time. But we have Severance Summer Sale number 3. And let's see. This is the Perios Cajeros trilogy, the North American premiere of the complete trilogy. 3-disc set with 4+ hours of special features. Cine Kinky, pronounced kinky, yep, I got it right, and short for quinceañero, slang used to describe juvenile delinquents, was a series of neorealist dramas depicting the teenage crime wave that plagued post-Franco Spain. And while more than 30 kinky movies were produced between 1977 and 1985, the genre was defined alongside Eloy de la Iglesia. Back again. I feel like I've been talking about Eloy de la Iglesia films for like the last 3 episodes. But Eloy de la Iglesia's Naveros El Pico films by this shocking urban trilogy from writer-director Jose Antonio de la Loma, recognized as the original Kinky uh, Perros Callejeros, features a star-making performance by real-life street felon Ángel Fernandez Franco as charismatic young hoodlum El Torete. De La Loma's adolescent anti-hero returns in Perros Callejeros 2 to battle an increasingly brutal world of robberies, prison, and vengeance. And Los Últimos Golpes del El Torete, the titular gangster joins forces with the equally notorious El Vaquilla for a rampage that turns violent criminals into pop culture idols. This sounds absolutely insane. Along with dozens of actual kinkies and these groundbreaking action hits now scanned in 4K from their original camera negatives with English subtitles for the first time ever in North America. Man, it 3 discs, so each movie gets its own disc. Each movie looks like it gets a host of special features. There's an interview with the assistant director, interview with the author of Pieros Calleros, Una Película Irrepetible. I'm guessing somebody who knows the subgenre pretty well. Otherworld, excerpts of interview with actress Nadia Vendel, Italian Connection, Cine Kinky, and the Eurocrime film. That's an interesting connection. If Every Cop Was Like You, archival interview excerpt with actor Victor Petit. Disc 2, it's got, obviously the sequel. It's a bunch of special features and interviews with people, as well as the third disc as well. So this is pretty interesting box set here of lost movies that you've never heard of before, and a genre you've probably never heard of before either. That's Severance. That's what Severin does.
Yeah.
Let's move upwards now to the Manitou, which is number 4. Which is worldwide UHD premiere 2-disc collector's edition, 3+ hours of special features. Following his success with Grizzly and Day of the Animals, producer/director William Girdler bought the film rights to the best-selling novel by Graham Masterton for what would become the most ambitious film of Girdler's career and a commercial triumph he would never live to see. Academy Award nominee Tony Curtis. Now, KB, are you familiar with Tony Curtis, the father of Jamie Lee Curtis?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis.
Yes.
Mom and
Yes,
Dad.
indeed. Of course, we talked about Some Like It Hot earlier, and several times over. He was, of course, in Some Like It Hot, starring opposite Jack Lemmon. Tony Curtis is like a Hollywood legend. It's kind of interesting he would end up, doing this film later on in his career. And I guess take what you can get when you can. I was just saying, it's just crazy to me. I saw Tony Curtis's name pop up in this, and I'm like, that's nuts. That's nuts. So, let's see. Tony Curtis leads an all-star class, including Michael Ansara, Susan Strasberg, Stella Stevens, and Southern and Burgess Meredith. Holy heck. We just talked about Rocky earlier.
Yeah, man. That's a cast.
Yeah. In this infamous 70s saga of tarot card hustlers, enormous neck tumors, a 400-year-old reincarnated medicine man, and naked demon space laser battles, that has been called everything from a thorough, entertaining supernatural extravaganza and a fascinating experience to a deliriously ill-advised oddity. And as crazy as it sounds, and then some. This sounds like schlock through the moon. This is, let's see, 4K. This is now scanned in 4K from the 35mm interpositive by Studio Canal for the first time ever, with over 3 hours of all new features. Disc 1, the 4K UHD disc with an audio commentary. And then disc 2's got that same commentary plus a bunch of features. And that is it. This movie sounds incredible. This movie sounds like something I would watch first before ever buying. By watch first, I mean hopefully it's streaming on like Tubi or something. This feels like something that should be streaming on Tubi.
The cover looks crazy itself. So
yes, it does. It looks absolutely madcap crazy.
I'm glad that it matches whatever
very
that
much
crazy
so.
cover is.
So I think there's one more title, and then that will be it for Severin. Did I pass it? It says maybe I did pass it. No, maybe I didn't. Hold on. Is that? Yeah, number 5. Here we are. Sheila and the Brainstem. Oh, that sounds like a Severin movie if I ever heard one. In 1988, UCLA film student Russell Bates and Matt McDowell borrowed a 16mm camera, maxed out their credit cards, and made a punk rock road movie about love, death, jerky. Is that? Oh, I had the comma covered. I'm like, death jerky? What is that? Kidnapped newlyweds, 24-hour mini marts, and a magical brainstem that promises immortality, as they all do, featuring appearances by LA music scene icons that include Red Cross, Milo Ackerman of the Descendants, and Peter Case of the what's that? Plimsolls, with soundtrack vocals by Bob Forrest of the Thelonious Monster. But when the finished film was unable to find theatrical distribution, it instead became an underground bootleg legend. Now, after nearly 4 decades, this offbeat saga of America wrapped in a Big Mac carton has been scanned in 2K from the original negative and is presented in both its original version and producer's cut with 3 hours of all new special features. 2-disc edition, commentary by filmmaker Russell Bates and Matt McDowell, plus an interview with them, plus an interview with the actress, the actor, an interview with musician/actor Robert Hecker. There's a locations tour as well. There's a music video directed by Russell Bates. And then disc 2 has the producer's cut with an intro by the director Matt McDowell. So that is Sheila and the Brainstem. That's fascinating. So that is it from Severin. Let me go over to back to here to find, what am I looking for? The one from the BFI. Nuts in May, which is a Mike Leigh film, and I believe it's an early Mike Leigh film. And I've always been a big fan of Mike Leigh. And I watched this movie a couple of years ago, and I don't remember why I watched it. I don't think it was for this announcement, because this obviously is a recent announcement. Hopefully they have, oh, thank goodness. Thought they had absolutely nothing about it. So, Nuts in May is a British film, obviously. BFI is putting it out. It's from 1976, directed by Mike Leigh, one of my favorites. Description: first shown in legendary BBC One Play for Today's Strand, the film, newly restored in 4K by the BBC, will be presented on Blu-ray for the first time to mark its 50th anniversary. Nuts in May follows an uptight couple, Candice Marie and Keith, played by Alison Steadman and Roger Sloman, whose idyllic camping trip to Dorset descends into social chaos. Things go from bad to worse as they continue. This thing is bouncing me around like a beach ball at concert. That's what I hate about Blu-ray.com when I'm doing this, is because the ads keep popping up and they keep changing the page, especially if I have to zoom in because my eyes are bad. Let's see. Yeah, into social chaos, things go from bad to worse as they contend with their difficult fellow campers. The film has been hugely influential on British comedy films and TV shows, such as Sightseers, Vic Reeves, and Bob Mortimer's At Home with Vic and Bob, and the League of Gentlemen, and is inspiration for many, including actor and writer Dexter Fletcher, who has previously introduced a screening of it at the BFI South Bank. Now, Dexter Fletcher, if I remember correctly, he is the director of the movie Rocket Man, which is the biopic of Elton John. That biopic is excellent. He also had to come in and finish Bohemian Rhapsody when Bryan Singer got kicked out of production of the movie. Why does that keep
happening to him?
Yeah. So Dexter Fletcher had to come in and finish that movie, and then he did his own musical biopic, Rocket Man, Rocket Man, which is better than Bohemian Rhapsody in my opinion. But nobody likes to have that conversation. Anywho. Dexter Fletcher is also an actor. He was in like Guy Ritchie films and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool that he introed this movie, because Mike Leigh is a very influential British filmmaker, who's still active to this day. We've been talking about Criterion. Several of his movies are in the Criterion collection. That's how I have him in my collection. The film Naked with David Thewlis, which is kind of a Criterion Collection staple. That's Mike Leigh. Topsy Turvy. Oh man, I almost want to go over my section and get movies out, but I won't. But he also did so many movies. I'm gonna look up his IMDb. Actually, I'm still on Criterion, so I'm gonna go look at that. But he did the movie. What did he do recently? Oh, Meantime, Secrets and Lies, which is one of my favorites. Life is Sweet, which is super underrated. I highly recommend people checking that out. It's an early movie from him, but he also coincidentally Severin. We just talked about Severin. Put out one of his films as well. That I I really like. All I think it's called All or Nothing. I think that's the movie All or Nothing. It's really fantastic movie. And he likes to deal a lot with like working class people and films like that. And like Timothy Spall is an actor that works a lot with him. Timothy Spall um, was in the Harry Potter movies. Ironically, a lot of Mike Leigh actors were ended up in Harry Potter. I don't know why. That just happened to be the case.
Hmm.
When they did the casting, like so many of them. Like David Thewlis was in Harry Potter as one of the teachers. Um, it's just the way it is. But anywho, I've always been a big fan of Mike Leigh, and he was actually one of the first kind of British directors I really attached myself to. But this movie, Nuts in May, is very good. I saw it a couple of years ago, but I highly recommend checking it out. It says the Blu-ray will be packed with extras to be announced and an illustrated booklet. So we have nothing in terms of special features yet. So hopefully it's stacked. That would be nice. Um, let me go over to Second Sight's website. That seems to be the best place to, let's see, Second Sight. Yeah, secondsightfilms.co.uk. That seems to be the best place to check out their stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we've got The Name of the Rose, and we have Dead Man's Shoes. Now, Dead Man's Shoes was announced that Second Sight was going to be putting out a release 3 years ago in 2023. They announced that this movie was going to get a 4K release, and then along the way, there were a lot of production issues with making this release where they couldn't quite find the best elements to make a 4K release, so they had to transition to it being just a Blu-ray release, and it's just been stuck in kind of that production limbo ever since. But now it's finally coming out in August, I believe. So let's start with that one because that's the one I think people have been waiting for a while since it was announced several years ago. Yeah, August 10th, it's coming out finally. Let's see, starring Patty Considine as well as Toby Kebbell. A former paratrooper returns to his hometown in the Midlands seeking revenge on a gang of thugs that violently tormented his vulnerable younger brother. There's a new audio commentary with director Shane Meadows, producer Mark Herbert. Herbert. New audio commentary by Andrew Graves and John Tolson. Another audio commentary with Shane Meadows, actor Patty Considine, and Mark Herbert. Quite a journey. A new interview with Shane Meadows and Mark Herbert. A Very Fine Line. A new interview with actor Toby Kebbell. That's kind of amazing. They were able to get Toby Kebbell to do a new interview. The Right Horses. A new interview with actor Gary Stretch. Made an Impact, an interview with director of photography Danny Cohen, deleted scenes, extended takes, alternate ending, In Shane's Shoes, short film, Northern Soul, Danger Mouse, and Gemini music video. In the typical Second Sight style, 120-page book with new essays, rigid slipcase, so it's one of their thick ones. I keep needing to put this on the shelf, and I keep having it on my couch, and I'm afraid I'm going to end up damaging it. But I do have their copy of Possession that came out last year to give you a sense of how thick some of these releases are. I like to hold this up as an example. I can fit it in the frame. I've got that. Yeah, nicely done. This was like my number one release I wanted to get last year. It took the whole year for this thing to come out. It didn't come out till December. I got that, and I got, where did I put it? Oh, it's over. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. I got Reanimator as well. I got that one too. But this is coming out in August finally. Like I said, it was originally announced back in 2023 that it was coming. Really good movie. Really good movie. Like I said, I haven't seen it in like 3 years because we talked about it at the time. I really love this cover art. Now that I'm looking at it actually fully, it looks very, very nice. I wonder if they have. So if I scroll down far enough, now they don't have the cover artist here, so I don't want to give anybody credit if I don't know who it is.
Yes, it's normally in the.
Oh, it says right here, rigid slipcase with new artwork by Krishna Shenoy. Sometimes you have to dig deep to find it, but that's a really good cover art. But now let's move over to. I don't know if you've seen. I'm sorry, I've been kind of.
I have not seen either one of these.
Okay, now.
Well, no. I did because that's Sean Connery, right? That's Sean Connery movie.
The Name of the Father.
That one
The Name of the Father. The Name of the Rose. The Name of the Father is the movie with another great actor.
Daniel Day.
Lincoln. Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
who did just come out of retirement rather unceremoniously to star in his son's movie,
I
which
was
I
about to
thought was
say
going
it
to get a
was
lot more
for
hype.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my son becomes a director. I don't have any children, but I'm just saying, if I had a son and he became a director and he wanted me to be in his movie, I would too. I would too. But The Name of the Rose. So you have seen this movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I just watched it for the first time the other night. I didn't realize it's based on a very popular and well-regarded book. Um, that was, I think it was originally in Italian. It came out in 1980, but it's on like best books of like the 20th century lists. I did not know that. It's like a murder mystery novel that takes place in 1327, 1328, so 14th century. And we have these two characters, one portrayed by, obviously, as you see here, Sean Connery, and then he has his young protege, portrayed by none other than the one and only Christian Slater from Pump Up the Volume fame, as well as Heathers, as well as I got so much Christian Slater around me, it's not even funny. Where are you? It's around here somewhere. Got it. Robin Hood fame as well. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Young Christian Slater is in this. Probably the first time I ever saw Christian Slater in anything was in this movie. But I have like a bunch of Christian Slater around me. Anywho, he's in this movie as a young protege of this priest. He's actually Franciscan. I think they're Franciscan priests, which is an order of priests that are still around to this day, who live a very impoverished type of life. But anywho, this priest portrayed by Sean Connery is sent to this, I think this abbey, to investigate a death. It says an aging friar and his young apprentice investigate a series of mysterious deaths at a monastery. The pair must race against time to prove the innocence of an unjustly accused man while avoiding the wrath of a holy inquisitor. That's kind of the premise, but there's a lot that's involved in there in between. I forgot. I got to look up the name of the character. His name is like William of something. It's like a cool like noble name.
William of Baskerville.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then his young apprentice his name is Atsu. I think it's Atsu.
Yeah.
And yeah, then they're there, and then obviously things are a little more complicated than they appear to be. So what is happening is these corpses end up like showing up, like while they're there, murders continue to happen, and what is happening is people's the corpses, their tongues are black, and then one of their fingers on one of their hands are also black as well, and they're trying to figure out what the heck is going on here, and they're trying to figure these things out, and there's all kinds of like maybe some untrustworthy things happening behind the scenes. The movie does get into a little bit of like church corruption, which I always like to delve into. It also gets into a little bit of Inquisition type of stuff going on as well. And also kind of getting into like I said, corruption within the church as well, the corruption within the Inquisition, and it's a really intriguing murder mystery. Some actors pop up in here that look a little familiar. For example, let's see, what's the name? Ron Perlman.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Perlman pops up in this movie as a hunchback who just like talks in gibberish constantly or whatever. And I always forget how old Ron Perlman is. Ron Perlman's like 76 years old. So his career goes all the way back like 40 plus years ago, because this movie came out in 1986. So it is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. So this would have been also around the time that Sean Connery was in The Untouchables, where he won his Oscar for The Untouchables. So it would be around that era of Sean Connery. So this is long past his James Bond days and stuff like that. But of course, this would be a decade before he would be in Michael Bay's The Rock, which is kind of like his last great performance, in my opinion. I don't know if you consider The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen a great performance. But there's also always that there's this conspiracy theory I've seen pop up every now and then online about how The Rock his character in The Rock is him as is James Bond, where it's like his version of James Bond, and there's also all these kinds of like hints and connections to where like Sean Connery may just be playing his character from James Bond in The Rock. I don't know how true that is, but either way, it's probably his last great role from Sean Connery, in my opinion. But in here, this is him like kind of in his relative prime in this movie. He's really good. I mean, he's got his Scott. He never changed his Scottish accent in any movie he ever did. I mean, famously. So I'm a big fan of like Highlander, right? So in
Yeah.
Highlander, he's playing an Egyptian Spaniard, but it's Sean Connery, and he's like teaching, Connor McLeod how to sword fight and stuff like that. It's great stuff. And then he's in the second movie, and it's just even crazier stuff. But anyway, I find it crazy how he just never changed his on-screen voice at all for any movie he was ever
Yeah.
in.
Denzel's like that. Once he got famous, he just did his
Just didn't
New
do it. I
York
mean,
City
he didn't do it
Bronx
for.
accent
I've got.
everywhere.
Where are you? I've got Gladiator 2 over here, where
Yeah, that
right
was the
next to me.
worst
It's like
example.
even in Mag. But what's crazy is that he was in which Coen brother was it? He was in the Coen brothers. I forget the Coen brothers' names. There's Ethan and Joel. I think Joel
Mhm.
Coen is the one who did Macbeth, right?
Yeah.
So and Denzel was Macbeth in that. And that talk about a movie that I really want to have a disc release. Come on,
Same.
Apple, get it together now. Denzel as Macbeth, and it's just it's Denzel, but he's such a great actor, and he carries that role so well,
My favorite.
so well. I mean, it's really really good. Um, and I was, yeah, I was. I mean, speaking. Okay, I'm gonna go. I wasn't gonna go off here. I was on A24's website last night, and they putting out Spike Lee's newest movie on disc, which was also an Apple streaming thing as well. I've been seeing a lot of Spike Lee lately as well because of the NBA Finals.
Mhm.
I saw him the other day. I saw Spike Lee like driving through the streets of New York, as in like parade style, people just cheering for him and stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, he's got to be part of the championship parade. It must be. Um, but either way, like he's about as New York as you can get. I was just thinking of Do the Right Thing today because I was watching the newest Criterion Closet video with Matthew Reese, and one of the movies he picked up was Do the Right Thing. He's talking about Spike Lee and stuff like that, and it just made me think of like other Spike Lee films and whatnot. And his latest film actually did get a Blu-ray release, but I don't think a lot of people know. Highest to Lowest. That was the
Yeah.
movie. I remember the hype around that because it was a remake of
High and
Akira
low.
Kurosawa's film,
Yeah.
High and Low. And so it's something I have to add to my Spike Lee collection at some point. But anywho, I don't know how I got there. See, this is what happens here on Chasing Labels. We go off on tangents. And mine just, as the show goes along, my mind gets more and more delirious. I start forgetting things and I start just rambling about Spike Lee. But this movie here is directed by Jean-Jacques Arnaud. Like I said, the novel is very popular. And this movie is very very interesting. I didn't realize how popular of a movie it was until I posted up on it on my Facebook, and I realized there's like 43,000 likes on this movie on like their Facebook page about this movie. And I was like, oh, so people have seen it. But I rather liked it. I didn't see that this. I don't know if it needs a super deluxe second sight release,
No.
but fans of the movie sure go right ahead and get it. I feel like there are probably other movies that even from the 80s that would be like a Lost Boys second sight release would be super sweet in my opinion. That would be really nice. But here we are. But let's see what we have here for special features. Sorry. Dual format edition, including both UHD and Blu-ray with main feature and bonus features on both discs. UHD presentation in HDR with Dolby Vision. New audio commentary by James Marsh and audio commentary with the director Jean-Jacques Arnaud. Charm of the Humanity, a new interview with Jean-Jacques Arnaud. That's kind of awesome. A Boy and His Dog, a new interview with actor Christian Slater. That's great. Glad to see a new interview with him. Bringing the Mustard, a new interview with actor Ron Perlman. Awesome. Liquidating the Disc, a new interview with writer Andrew Birkin. The Abbey of Crime, Umberto Eco's The Name of the Rose. Umberto Eco is the author of The Name of the Rose. He wrote the book. Rigid Slipcase with new artwork by Lisa Shumskaya. 120-page book with essays and 6 collector's art cards as well. It's going to be one of those thick ones like we just showed off. And yeah, that's Second Sight's 2 releases. Let me just quickly check to see what else. I think that's everything Flicker Rally,
I think
BFI.
so.
Oh, there was one from Kino. All right, there's one from Kino. It's and then that will be it, and we will make our way out of here with our outros. Let's see, Kino Classics. I'm wondering if Kino's gonna be having a sale soon. I feel like they're due for a sale. So Kino's been doing some stuff lately. They're putting out Elvis Presley's King Creole on 4K. For those of you Elvis Presley fans, I don't know. Have you watched a lot of Elvis Presley acting in movies?
When they used to be on TV when I was a kid, I would catch them, and I used to work in a video store. So if we got like, I think it was it should be Paramount if it's being released by Kino. So I remember when they released the VHS tapes of it. So yeah.
I know. I know. Recently, there's been a lot of, not a lot. I say a lot, but it's not a lot. But some of Elvis Presley's, acting catalog has been getting new Blu-ray releases and such. I think like Blue Hawaiian got like a Paramount Presents release. I think when they were still doing Paramount Presents release. Now that's a line that I think has kind of gone away a little bit.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah. But they put out, because they did a whole new restoration for Blue Hawaiian, and some of his other movies. But like Jailhouse Rock, I think they may have put out a new release of that. If they haven't, they should have, because that's one of his better movies, is Jailhouse Rock. But one of the titles I wanted to talk about was this Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin title, called Money from Nothing, or Money from Home. Sorry, it's got a brand new 4K.
Yeah, Paramount.
Yeah, it's got to be part of it's part of the Paramount deal. Speaking of which, brand new HD master from 4K restoration by Paramount Pictures and 3D Film Archive, restored from the 35mm Dynoptic 3D Technicolor camera negatives. That's a mouthful. Presented in stereoscopic and anaglyphic 3D formats. That's the two 3D formats. I think the anaglyphic, that's the one with the red and blue glasses there. As well as in 2D. New audio commentary of film historian James L. Nabar and Mike Bellew. There's an audio commentary with film historians Nathaniel Thompson and Howard S. Berger. Coming Back Home documentary short. Dean's Disc music short. On the Set slideshow. Martin and Lewis Fox Theater promo. Let's see. Available in 3D for the first time on home video. Money from Home is a hilarious laugh-a-minute comedy starring a legendary team of Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. Released on the 80th anniversary of their first team up in Atlantic City. The centennial of Lewis's birth. When Honey Talk Nelson gambling debts start to mount, he enlists his veterinarian cousin Virgil, portrayed by Jerry Lewis, to help him fix a race. Along the way, the boys find plenty of time for gags, music, and for a honky tonk, a romance with the gorgeous Phyllis. Features their now classic take on Cyrano de Bergerac, Money from Home, presented in both stereoscopic and anaglyphic 3D formats, as well as standard 2D. I figured since a bunch of Jerry Lewis's stuff has been getting released from like Imprint and from Kino, I figured this was something to go along with all of those. I know there are fans of Jerry Lewis who've been wanting some nice releases over the years, like The Nutty Professor. Got a big like collector's edition Blu-ray from Warner Brothers a few years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah, and then I want to make mention of one more title that is coming up here, which I feel like we're going to get more info later. On 4K UHD is going to be the John Wayne film Big Jake, starring John Wayne, of course, and Maureen O'Hara. This is a movie directed by George Sherman. And yeah, this is a movie I saw years ago, and there's been a Blu-ray of this around for a little while, but it's one of those Blu-rays that's not really that great of a Blu-ray at all. It kind of, I think it was taken from an old master. Yeah, it came out in 2011 from Paramount Pictures, and I remember it having pretty okay picture quality and no special features whatsoever. So hopefully this comes with at least a commentary. That would be super sweet. But I think that's it for in terms of releases here. We got under the 4-hour mark, which is always a goal for me here on Chasing Labels. We do have some comments here from along the way that I maybe someone who I'm just looking at some of the comments here. Let's see. Dexter Fletcher was in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Thank you. So Hevedic Christisdod, I cannot pronounce that. Dexter Fletcher was in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which is the Guy Ritchie film. I've watched Guy Ritchie's newest film, the one he did with Henry Cavill and Jake Gyllenhaal, not great. In the
Mm.
Gray, which had no promotion when it came to the movie theater, was in and out in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
Unfortunately, that movie was supposed to come out in January of 2025, and the movie wasn't finished in time, so they pushed it. And Lionsgate was supposed to put that out for distribution, and then they dropped their distribution license in, I think, November of last year. So the
Hmm.
production company couldn't find another company to put it out, another distributor. So they decided to put it out themselves, and they put it out and with no really no fanfare, and it was in and out in theaters in 2 weeks, and now it's on Blu-ray already, or at least it's coming
Wow.
out. But it's not great. I feel like his last couple of movies to me, Guy Ritchie, have not been that great. I thought The Gentleman was really good. That was a really good movie. Let's see. Just looking at some. Oh yeah, vendor. Yeah, talking about um all the releases from Curzon recently. The Von Trier, Haneke vendors. Um, Our buddy Paul says Laura's a good film. Study that at uni. That is interesting that they showed that in a university setting. I guess it makes sense. Whatever happened to Clive Owen? That's a good question.
That is a good
That's a good
question.
question. He's still acting. If
Where?
I, yeah, I mean, nowhere near as much as he was 20 years ago. But I remember he was on the show The Nick, which, and this is going back like a decade now, but after where has been Clive Owen? He's still in things. I'm just looking at, he's still working. So I'm just looking at, he was in Let's Say, oh boy, this is going back like 5 years. Never mind. Yeah, not much, man. He was
He
in
was in a
Gemini Man, the
he
Ang
was
Lee
in a
movie from
movie last year
2019.
called Cleaner.
Yeah, he was in Cleaner from 2025, but Murder at the End of the World, which is a TV miniseries from 2023. But it's like one credit per year type of situation here. It's not like
Hmm.
an abundance of things. Lissay's Story, which is a Stephen King adaptation that was on the Apple TV, that was 2021. I mean, we're going back 5 years now. But then before that, his career kind of just slowed down. It happens. People pop and do a bunch of things constantly, and sometimes they just kind of slowly fade and disappear. It happens. Let's see. Let's see. Bound is the best Wachowski film. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I mean, I'm a Matrix person through and through.
Same.
That's the Wachowskis for me. Like the Matrix is like the epitome for me. I know that Speed Racer finally got its 4K release that people were clamoring for years. That just finally came out in both a steelbook and a Blu-ray edition. I got to get my hands on that because that movie is a visual treat. Oh, I didn't want to say this, but Franco Potente is in Born Supremacy. That's all I'm gonna say because I hate what happens to her. I hate it so much. Let's see. Run Lola Run is great. There's a lot of Bruno Gans is a great actor. I do agree. So I think that would be it for in terms of everything we covered here on Chasing Labels. Let me go back to the 2-shot here so we can do our little outro. Remove and let's see. Technical stuff. There we go.
Ooh.
So we're good here. So thank you, KB, obviously, for joining me here for this episode of Chasing Labels, spine number 193. Thank you, of course, producer extraordinaire Stephen from earlier for popping in to talk a little bit about the Criterion release from a new Satyajit Ray film. He will be back here this coming weekend, along with myself and our friend Ian Schultz, to do another episode of the Unwatched Pile. I still have to pick my title for the Unwatched Pile this time around.
Get on it.
These things always creep up on me, and I'm always a bad procrastinator when it comes to that. But KB, if there's anything you would like to say, where people can check out your work and all that kind of stuff.
KB Loves Movies. If you search for it, you'll find it. That's where I am. KB Loves Movies YouTube channel. There's a bunch of past conversations, including one with Steven. So you could always look for that there. And I live on my Instagram account, so you could find me there.
Awesome. Yeah. And please, of course, you can find this in audio form on any place podcasts can be found: Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify. There's an audio version here on YouTube as well. There's, of course, the replay for this video, as well as past episodes, as well as a replay for all of the other stuff we've been doing here. Like I said, we recently did the Criterion reviews for a couple of the things from the month of June. I got to go into I got to kind of geek out over John Waters, who was one of my favorites here. With his movie Desperate Living, as well as Hairspray, two completely different movies, and all of the other things that we've been doing here on Chasing Labels as well. There will be an episode in 2 weeks' time. I just got to look at my calendar because I never remember these things. On June 30th, though, it will be that Tuesday. Rachel Belwar will be our next guest here on that episode. And so I look forward to all the things coming out in the next 2 weeks or so. Of course, I think by that time we will get probably some Arrow titles, some perhaps more Eureka titles. Indicator still has to announce their stuff as well, I believe, for this month. Then, of course, by that time, we could have the Criterion sale at Barnes & Noble, perhaps. Who knows what could be kicking off at that point, as well as other sales that could be happening. Like I said, Severance got their summer sale coming up as well. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for all the support always. And hey, keep on watching those movies because I know I will.